Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, and welcome to the latest episode of the Hard Compound Live. For those of you who don't know, my name's Rich and I run and operate the Hard Compound. We're a one-stop shop for all things motorsport, and we can be found on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. And these chats can be found on our YouTube channel as well. So search for the Hard Compound on any of those platforms. Come along, join in the fun. We'd love to have you on board. We cover everything from F1 to IndyCar, sports cars, rallying, bikes, touring cars, the Aussie Supercars, World Endurance Championship, and anything else that we can shake a stick at, really. We do this in the form of usually 3 written articles every day. These are posted on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at about 9 o'clock in the morning UK, 2 in the afternoon, and about 8:30 at night. They take the form of race reviews, race previews, throwbacks, birthdays, breaking news, favourite liveries, and again, anything else that's going on in the motorsport world. We're here to share a love of motorsport. No controversy, no nonsense, no infighting or any of that kind of stuff that goes on elsewhere. We just want to enjoy the motorsport. That's why we are here. So we'd love to have you on board. Come along, join in the fun. Apart from the articles, in case you hadn't noticed, we also do live video interviews just like this one. And just like this one, these go out on our Facebook, our Twitter, and our YouTube channel. They're automatically saved in the live section over on YouTube and in the video section on Facebook. As I said, we've done over 200 of these. I'm not going to name all the guests we've had, but we've had everyone from across the motorsport spectrum, from people like Mario Andretti, Jackie X, Chip Ganassi. Just last week, we had the lovely and the renowned journalist, Mr. Nigel Roebuck from Autosport and Motorsport magazines. We've spoken to people that have won in Formula One, people who have won the Indy 500, who have raced in sports cars, guys like David Brabham and like Derek Warwick, Stephanie Hansen, Emanuele Pirro. We've had Will Power, Alex Palou, most of the British Touring Car Championship grid. We've had people like Ivan Muller, Gabriele Tarquini. We've had like Carl Wendlinger, Fabrizio Giovanardi, Dave Richards from ProDrive, Malcolm Wilson from the rallying world, Petter Solberg, Takuma Sato, etc., etc., etc. Do go and check those out if you get the moment, but don't do it just yet, because we have got another great guest joining us this evening. He's raced in a lot of the single-seater feeder series here in Europe and back home in his native Australia. And he's raced in GT. He's raced on the in the Nürburgring Langstrecken series and much more. So we are going to bring him in so we can have a chat, find out what he's done, what he's doing, and where he's going. Looking forward to this. I've been following him for a few years since he moved over to the UK. So without any further ado, please join me in extending a very warm welcome to Mr. Bart Horsten.
Good evening. How you doing?
Good evening, Bart. I'm very well, Bart. How are you?
Yeah, not too bad. Not too bad.
Good. We are wrapped up in the warm this evening, thank goodness. It's a pretty old day, isn't it?
Yeah, it's pretty cold. I think a friend of mine was saying it's 3 degrees, or at least it was earlier today, but it feels like -5, and I can agree with that based on I concur based on being outside about half an hour ago. It was pretty freezing. So
yeah, I mean 3 degrees feels a bit optimistic, doesn't it?
But yes, well below that now.
No, I think it's probably a lot lower. So that was a very British way of talking about motorsport, wasn't it? Talk about the weather straight away. But we'll come to you in just a sec. Just for a moment, I just want to turn my attention to the comment section. People tuning in on Facebook and Twitter and YouTube. Everyone is in already, which is lovely. Hello to you all who are tuning in, to Lisa and Dylan and Sheila and John and Chris and everyone else who is in. Thank you very much for tuning in. Looks like the technology is working. If you have any questions or comments, do type them in on your chosen platform and we will work them in, or just talk amongst yourselves if you like. So yes, we're all here to talk about motorsport. Thank you everyone for tuning in. That's the housekeeping done. But firstly, how's things been going in the last sort of few weeks since the end of the full race season? How's it all been for you?
Yeah, good. My season's been a bit weird because it's probably the first time I haven't done a full racing series since I was 8 or 9. I say 9, let's say, in karts, right? So my first time in cars, not doing a full championship. So it's been strange, but it's been probably busier because I've had a lot of time to focus on obviously trying to make some changes to my own racing. And at the moment, I'm working on moving to Germany, and behind some of the NLS races and things I've done like that. So that's obviously taking a bit of effort around looking at certain job opportunities there. And I do quite a bit of stuff, as you've probably seen, in terms of I do some F1 sim work, some general test driving, and a lot of driver coaching, which has probably taken up quite a lot of my time. So today I was sim coaching at Silverstone, and I said next week I'll be at Brands Hatch, and etc. And so a lot of times being spent organizing this kind of things, and I'm also trying to do some track days when I get home to Australia at the end of the year. So plenty to keep me busy, that's for sure.
No, good stuff. That's good to hear. Just on like Germany, obviously us Brits, we have a very fractious relationship with Germany throughout history. Even though the Germans don't really give a monkeys about us, they don't care. I should say, if people haven't been to Germany, do go. It is a fantastic country. It's a brilliant place. Everything works. Everything's kind of clean, and it's all very and everyone's very friendly. And there's one or two good racetracks out there as well, isn't there? So it's a cool place to be, isn't it?
Yeah, no, it's a little bit. I mean, my main reason, the same reason I'm here, because I think as you mentioned earlier, it's I don't think many Australians move to the UK for the weather or for the lifestyle or anything like that. I think you'd have to be. I think it's much more the other way around. So it's certainly motorsport's the only reason, and I think every Aussie I speak to is the same thing, right? Like this is the home of motorsport, or traditionally has been. So Germany to me is kind of the home of GT racing these days. So that's kind of where, that's where I'm looking to make more of a career and just also try something different as well. And I have the opportunity, and I'm already that far from home anyway, so it's worth a go, right?
Yeah, absolutely right. And yes, I don't think any Brits took offence when you said none of the Aussies move here for the weather.
No.
Definitely. I mean, as I mentioned, I've had a couple of guys from that sort of part of the world. I think like Will Power was on here a couple of years ago. He's a great guy, and he said that he moved to the UK. He said he moved to Europe for the motorsport, but it said as soon as there was an opportunity to go stateside, he went. He was like, get me out of But yeah, with you on that. But no, it's good. Sounds like there's a lot of things in the pipeline for next year, which is great. So that's kind of that's like the present. What I'd like to do is go right back to the start of where your interest in motorsport came from. Obviously, Australia's pretty isolated in relation to places like Europe and USA, things like that. But loads of motorsport history there. Absolutely love. I sort of grew up loving the Adelaide Grand Prix, things like that. Where did your interest in motorsport start from?
I didn't really, I didn't grow up in a motorsport family, and Australia, we're a big sporting country, obviously, but motorsport's not one of those big things. F1 has made a really big push recently. I think Ricciardo and Drive to Survive, probably the biggest two reasons for that.
Sure.
But and now Piastri. So it's gotten a lot bigger. So, when I was a kid, nobody in school was interested in motorsport at all. And I thought going karting, I think I'd meet some other people who are interested in motorsport, but because I basically my exposure to it was I watched F1 on the TV. My dad had some interest watching Mark Webber, it would have been at the time, in Formula One. And I think I can kind of draw it back to one book my parents gave me that we still have in their house, that was like an encyclopedia of motorsport. And it said, if you want to be an F1 driver, you start in go-karts. And I kept bugging my parents, and eventually they let me drive one, which was very, fortunate. I think when I was 8 or 9 years old, and then we went karting locally. And I think, as I was saying, I was hoping I'd probably meet some more people interested in racing. What I found out was they were interested in racing, but not F1. F1 wasn't the big powerhouse it is now in Australia. It was people interested in drag racing, V8 supercars mainly,
supercars,
rally stuff. So I think these days F1's a lot more dominant, but certainly at that time supercars was huge, and was there's a lot more other types of racing, and it's like speedway stuff as well is very big in Australia. So it's just a little bit different, but that's kind of where it started. Yeah,
sure. Just it's just seeing F1 on the TV as a kid, isn't it? I think whatever age you are, it's just something very cool about it. I said I'm slightly older, but I had the same thing. As I mentioned, I had like Nigel Roebuck, who was well, he's nearly 80. He was the
Yeah.
editor of Autosport and Motorsport, and he was saying he had the same thing. He just saw this thing on TV, F1. It was like Ascari and guys like that. And once it gets you, doesn't it? That's it. You're done. You've got no chance. And so they said that they kind of let you have a go in karting and things like that. And how long did it take for you to start thinking, "Oh, I like this"?
I did take it. I think I knew I liked it before I did it, you know, like it was one of those. As soon as I got in, I was probably having a great time. I think I just liked anything that was like, I liked riding my bike around or a scooter when I was a kid, and or just anything like that. It was that kind of thing. So yeah, I was a big fan of just getting, and then when I could obviously get in the go-kart, I just like wanted to get in more and more and more. And yeah, then my dad we got a go-kart, and then we started running it ourselves. I say ourselves, I wouldn't have been doing anything at that age, you know, to be honest, or not anything of any consequence or any help, probably just causing chaos and causing headaches for people. But yeah, certainly started doing local karting, and to be honest, like that's where it stayed for a long, long time. I mean, I was karting in Western Australia, and it's so isolated there. Even compared to the rest of Australia, like there's no Australian championship rounds of the karting championship that are in Western Australia, right? And it's a 4-hour flight to the other side of the country. So yeah, exactly. So it's a bit like flying from the UK to Moscow. So it's a long way. And yeah, it makes things a little bit tricky. So you end up kind of just racing the same people for like 6 years, right?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah. Get to know them very well. So it's funny.
Yeah. And obviously, like Western Australia, for folks who don't know, we're kind of, I guess, we're talking about Perth here, which is like the loneliest city in the world, isn't it? It's the furthest city from anywhere else. It's that's where Danny Rick's from, isn't it? I'm sure he's from.
Yeah.
He's like
yes.
Perth guy, isn't he?
Yeah. Same school.
Wow.
Yeah.
I mean, that helps. Interest a bit, doesn't it? So I guess you've been racing against the same people for a few years. There's not much opportunity to get out and experience other competitions, other sort of circuits, things like that, because of how isolated. Excuse me, because of how isolated it is. When did you first start thinking, "This is what I want to do"? We're going to have to start. We're going to have to leave. We're going to have to start going places.
Yeah, I mean, I think, you know, there's a point where every kid has it. I mean, I see it a lot with even, you know, teenagers, young adults, and I mean, I had it as well, right? The dream of F1, and there's a point where that reality, I don't want to say breaks down, but it's so difficult for a lot of people. It does kind of but you have to have that kind of absurd belief to even make it possible. So I do appreciate and understand that, but certainly that boyhood dream of being a Formula One driver was there for a while. But I think, you know, when you start getting a little bit older, kind of when I became a teenager, you get a little bit more. Oh, we've lost Richard. You back? Yeah, that's right.
This is me holding my hands up. Weather, internet. Apologies, folks. Sorry about that, Bart. Sorry.
That's all right. No, I was just when I was 13, 14, it kind of also coincided with me having maybe, I think, a little bit worse of a year in karting. You know, not getting many podiums and things like this. Still late racing, just people in Western Australia, basically. And I kind of thought, oh, I love racing, but you know what? I don't need to be a driver. Like, I'm fine being like, I'd love to be a mechanic or an engineer or anything, like just get involved in the sport. Like, it doesn't really matter for me, you know? So I was kind of already thinking along that pathway. And then I had a year in karting that was really good. I mean, again, it's still local stuff, but I actually had easily my best year. I won a ton of races, won quite a few championships, raced 2 classes, was as quick as, you know, any of the other guys in the state who were doing, some of them were doing national championships and had won multiple. You'd go and do state championships in other states and things like that is kind of how it worked. It still does. So when I had that kind of slightly better season, I think then I realized, oh, actually, maybe I can drive like half decently. Sure. So at that point, then I did a one-off trophy race on the Gold Coast to just see what national competition was like. And I was kind of a bit disappointed because I just kind of felt like, okay, yeah, it's a little bit more, but it's not way more. And it's maybe a little bit cynical about karting. Some people kind of get this at some point where it's like, oh, how much is it just not getting hit off and your engine and a lot of little things. And, you know, sure. it was like, and racing outside the country, I was like, I don't know, how much do you want to do it? And then I think this was like a week before my first time in a Formula Ford, like a proper old school Kent engined, proper race car, as you know, some people would say, Formula Ford. And then after I drove that, I just was not touching a go-kart. Like I just wasn't interested anymore. I just thought it was the coolest thing. Yeah. So I think that was kind of curtains on that. I think I did half a year more in seniors doing a little bit of karting locally, but I just, after that, it was a one-way street. It was, I'm going to do some local racing just to see what it's like. And then look at, if I want to take this seriously, what it's going to take and what it would look like.
Yeah, sure. And then that's often, I mean, that point going from karts into cars, obviously the main thing is the finances or the backing or the sponsorship or whatever you want to call it. I mean, so many times on these chats that I do, people say there was a person that they met or someone who got on board or they were put in touch with. It was and then I met so and so and things really took off. Was there anything like that with you? Was it, whether it be like a company or an individual or anything like that?
A little bit. I mean, a little bit. It was more. I think it was two things. It was more a decision from me and my parents being willing to actually go, because it certainly wasn't something that was easy for them, you know. No, to go, okay, no, we're gonna really support your racing here. If you're gonna do it properly, then we've got a plan. We can only help you for a few years, but this is what it's gonna look like. So they're like unbelievable. You know, I'm so grateful to them for the commitment they've given me and everything, like the opportunity and the skills it's helped given me in the industry. I wouldn't have this opportunity without them. 100% impossible, right? So one thing was them deciding, okay, we're going to take like a big personal and financial risk here, and then also it was, again, there's like a pathway of people that I can link back everything in motorsport to. Like the guy who ran the car the first day I drove it is an ex Leighton House March F1 mechanic, right? So he was actually at Eddie Jordan, worked for Eddie Jordan's F3 team. So right back when it was still early days in the 80s. So he's an interesting guy, but he runs like a racing school there, runs the Formula Ford team, had won the national championship with Garth Tander. So that's where that connection is. And then through him was, doing the national championship in Australia, and then, meeting the people who made the European trip possible, or the European step, let's say, possible as well.
Right. So kind of sort of like linked in from there,
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah, which is great. That's cool. I love that the Leighton House March team's got a little mention. I used to love it when I was a kid.
It's a cool, it's a cool car. It looks really good. Because it was the early Newey car. They had complete design over and pretty revolutionary at the time. Yeah.
I had Nick Worth on here, who worked with Adrian Newey on the 88 car, I think, or the 89 car. And he actually signed a photo of it, and it landed on my doorstep today, so that's kind of cool.
Awesome.
So that's pretty wicked. But no, obviously some cool people to be involved with there. But just, once you got into the car, I've got here, was it a Stealth? I think it was, or whatever it was. But anyway, the Formula Ford car, you got into it, you loved it. I guess it wasn't much of a transition really for you from karting, because as I've spoken to some people, and those who go from karting into Formula Ford or similar, they find it quite easy compared to, say, someone who's gone from karting into a junior saloon car or something. And how did you? How did you find that transition?
I thought it was, at the time, I thought it was the most difficult thing I've ever done, because it's something I've never done before, and it was so much faster. And I can't speak to, I guess, because you do transfer a lot of skills, but also you've got suspension now. You crash a lot faster. The brake, you got to hit the brake a lot. The brake's an actual brake. You're braking with your other foot, at least for me, because I was learnt to right foot brake. You've got to change gears. So, a lot of dog rings and gears said goodbye pretty early in my career, just throwing that around my local track. So, for me, I'm not going to lie and say like, oh, it was amazing. So no, it was tough. Like, I think I did reasonably well, but it was tough. Like, it was really difficult cars to drive on the limit. They're fantastic. And when I got in one not super recently, but a year or two ago, I was shocked by how unstable they are because
Right.
you've got no wings and because you also sit higher because you don't have as much around you in the cockpit and the tires are very thin and they're not
Yes.
slicks. You feel it feels a lot less settled and you have a lot more wind coming at you than in like an F4 even or an F3.
Right.
An F4 is slower in a straight line or the same depending on the F4 car as an Australian Duratec engine Formula Ford, but you've got a lot more grip and it feels a lot more stable platform. So those cars feel reasonably sketchy in a straight line, if you know what I mean. So it's in the wet they were a handful because there's no wet tire. So, but yeah, it was they were a lot. It's the perfect step for me, in my opinion. Like, it was a lot of fun, great racing as well.
Yeah. See, I've now got the feeling that a few people I've spoken to have been downplaying how difficult it was.
Maybe.
They've been
I don't
lying to
know.
me.
They could be right. Maybe it's just me, just an Aussie thing.
I'm sure it wasn't. But I mean, you said that it is like the perfect step. And obviously, that's why the Formula Ford Festival over here, all those years ago, was the proving ground. It was a real place to be, wasn't it? And it's a terrific step. And but you went into, obviously, there was a couple of regional championships you entered and the Australian as well. I mean, obviously, you went in there and you found it a bit kind of sketchy to begin with, but you soon got the hang of it. I mean, did you set any sort of targets or goals or anything going into a race season, or was it just a case of let's just learn the car, learn the circuits, find out what I can do, what the car can do, and see what happens? Or
it was a little bit awkward because I did some, like, the first time I drove the car and I did some local races on my local track, and that was, like I said, in a Kent engine. So for people who don't know, that's like an old Cortina. It's what you see in the Formula Fords here in the UK, and it's historic, standardized. They get a little bit over 100 horsepower when they're fully tuned up these days, but they're not fast. And they've got carburetors, so they're a bit of a pain to drive. But the national series in Australia, why it says sometimes Fiesta series, is it's a Duratec engine, and so it's a 1.6 liter. It's about 140 horsepower, which, okay, it's not a lot, right? But it's a big percentage boost, and there's slightly bigger tires, slightly bigger brakes. And so you end up going quite a bit quicker in a straight line. So the idea originally was I was actually looking to race in Asia and something called the Formula Masters series, which was a Formula Renault with a VW engine. And that got replaced by F3 Asia.
Right.
And that meant that I ended up doing Formula Ford. I know it sounds a bit strange, but I ended up doing Australian Formula Ford, which was another option. Instead of going to, at the time we were looking to race in Asia as a middle step, because if we were going to go to Europe, it wasn't going to be this year. Like, I wasn't ready. My parents wanted to help me, especially because I was always finished school and things like this. Sure. So we were kind of looking to go to Asia because that was a lot more. I mean, from Perth, Asia's as a holiday destination is about as far as the East Coast of Australia and a bit cheaper. So it's very common that people go there. So for racing, it kind of made sense.
Right.
But the Formula Master Series got replaced by F3 Asia, which was a bit of a mess in the first season, I think, because they had this was the year when the Halo was introduced. And so this is the Tatis, the current Freca car that's now getting replaced for next season. And so they bodged a Halo in last minute. It pushed the production of the cars like 6 months back. In the end, it would have been a disaster to do it. So we ended up doing the Australian Formula Ford Championship in a bespoke car with the team that was gonna with the guy I started with in Perth. But it got a little bit tricky because the team I had pulled out after one round, and then we were kind of left. I was the only person in this car. I didn't know any of the tracks. I had no reference, and so it was kind of just me against. It was me, my dad, Brett, who was running the car, and then maybe sometimes we had another mechanic, or I'd have Jaden or Jada or Garth there as driver coach / support or whatever, right?
Wow.
And that was kind of that was the package, and so it was turn up and learn the tracks and hang on. So it was a big learning curve.
Yeah, I bet it was. And I guess that was kind of the target, just to learn quickly, I guess, or like it soon became the target, just to learn as quickly as you could, and like going forward. But I mean, I did see, you ended up racing at a few different circuits, around Australia. Excuse me, ones that I'm a big supercars fan, so I'm
right. Okay, cool.
I'm like familiar with a lot of the circuits. I mean, others may not be similar, but I saw that you raced at was it like Wakefield Park and Winton and Sydney and Phillip Island, which is well, it's on my bucket list.
Phillip Island is
That's
Phillip
on.
Island for me is one of the best tracks. Like I'd put it up with a Spa. It's like
Oh,
or a
yeah,
Nürburgring. It's that good. It is that good as a spectator, as a driver. Yeah.
yeah. And also, weirdly, if you happen to like penguins, there's a penguin colony there, isn't
Yeah.
there? If people
That's
don't
true.
know that,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
I mean, I was going to say, was there any of the circuits you particularly enjoyed? But yeah, I thought Phillip Island might be the one.
Yeah, no,
It just
absolutely.
looks fabulous. It's a fabulous place.
It's as good as it looks. It's well, as long as it doesn't start raining. But it's a bit like it's a bit like being at Knockhill or Anglesey, where the weather is what you see, and then it can change in half an hour. It's on the peninsula below Melbourne. It's right at the edge of the ocean, at the edge of the country, like the southeast point. So you just you're in the ocean, and anything can happen with weather. So, but it is amazing and picturesque, and yeah, it's a great track. I mean, apart from that, Wakefield served me well, but it's not really amazing. And we did the Tailem Bend. It was the first year that the track was. We did the first ever race event, which is like a local event, and then the supercars race there as well.
Okay.
So
cool.
yeah, there was that. But I think Phillip Island is easily. I never did Bathurst or so far, so
yeah,
Phillip Island for me is definitely the best in Australia.
That's the thing. I mean, I think like Bathurst is like bucket list stuff as well. I think we'd all love to go there, but yeah, Phillip Island doesn't get the credit over here that it deserves. I mean, you see it on the bikes or something, and it just makes you smile watching it. And yeah, so I'm glad that a driver has said it's as good as it looks, which is great. And you kind of mentioned, I mean, some names there you had, like Jade and Jada was there, and I think on the grid there was also like Jordan Boys was there, and Courtney Prince went on to do Porsches, and Hunter McElroy's gone out and done US single seaters, and Zach Suter's done touring cars. I mean, it was a decent, grid that you were on, wasn't it? It was super competitive.
No, it always is there because in Australia it's moving a little bit now. The Toyota series is doing quite well as like a grounding. I think most series in the world, it used to always be that you start in single seaters and then you go off. Now it's becoming a bit more that people just do GTs now. You see that even in the UK or in Europe in general, people just start in saloon cars or GTs. But in Australia, Formula Ford is the starting series. And it's funny, even if you want to go do Super 2 or Porsche, the most common pathway when I was that age was karting, Formula Ford, Porsche Cup, and then you go off to do whatever you do,
Right.
So Formula Ford was all the best junior drivers were doing it. And so the grid was always really good, and the racing was awesome as well.
Yeah. I think that's a great route to do it, isn't it? Because you've got the single-seater experience, you've got the GT experience quite early on, and then I wouldn't say you can pick and choose because that's very rarely the case, but at least you've got the grounding in both, which is obviously a great way to do it. You had that first year. You obviously went into the second year. We're now talking 2018 at this sort of time, first kind of full season. I did see you got your first podium finish that year. Just little things like that, nice little confidence boosts and little things to tick off and just to give you a little bit of a nudge now and again.
Yeah. So I think we only did the last few rounds of 2017, and then 2018 did every round bar. We didn't do Queensland Raceway. I think this was just after a teammate pulled out, and it just wasn't going to work logistically or something like that. I can't exactly remember. But yeah, we did. I think Wakefield then was the third or fourth round, and then we got 2 podiums there. It was one of the tracks you could actually test on, which was nice because I did actually get to know it a bit before I got out there. Testing in Australia is very tricky because you have a lot of road car days. There's not motorsport specific test days like in the UK. You can't do the same kind of mileage very easily. So yeah, that was Wakefield's a tiny. I mean, it's been repurposed since then, hasn't it? It's been renamed to One Raceway, and it's changed a little bit now. But at the time, it is a small club track, but it did well. I think part of the reason is maybe because it did May straights, and maybe we didn't have the best engine. I honestly don't know, but maybe that was part of the reason. But for whatever reason, it just seemed to fit well with our car and our setup. And since we're running a bespoke car that no one else had, we were always trying to figure out what we were doing wrong. And I think it probably just fell into a good window there. And then other tracks we just couldn't get it to work. And yeah, maybe that's the case, but it's sometimes it's hard to know. Like I said, when I have nothing to look at, and I remember I think I taught myself how to, download the Motec and go in and see what it's like and stuff like that. So it was proper run your own
So,
car kind of blood and
flying
bad
by the seat of
experience.
your
Yeah, yeah.
pants. Which is sort of, that's kind of tricky when when you have different machinery. As you say, you've got no frame of reference elsewhere. But yeah, must get the podiums. I think I've got here that you added. There was another couple of podiums later on. Finished 9th overall in the championship, which for a standalone car and that kind of thing, pretty good. We pretty pleased with the way it kind of went, because obviously you did some of the new stuff
Yeah.
and the Victoria stuff as well.
I think it's hard to know. We broke down a lot because the car was it was what it was. It wasn't, everyone else was in a Megale or a Spectrum, basically. And so yeah, I think we had 2 races where we blew drive shafts on the start line or something like that. Like, so it's hard to know. Looking back, I wouldn't say I was happy. It was a frustrating season, but I was really happy with how I developed as a driver.
Yeah.
I definitely wouldn't have had the maturity at the time to really see it for what it was, but I think I was happy with what could have been, if you know what I mean. Because when we had a track I knew quite well, we were generally about, maybe back end of the front pack, like 5th or 6th. And I was, there's a guys there who do 3 seasons pretty normally. So yeah, it was good to, I just learned a lot racing wise. I think it was such good preparation before I went to F4 was the main thing, and clutch control and the skills I've learned from driving a manual car early have been really helpful in everything.
Yeah, which is good. Maybe sort of, given the situation you were in, it was kind of, you thought, yes, there's a lot good going on here, even if the results perhaps didn't show it.
No, exactly. I think I learned so much. Yeah. I think I learned a huge amount from it. Yeah.
Now we said about F4. I'm going to touch on that in a minute. I mean, because it was quite a big move, 2019. I mean, was your mind always on sort of like leaving Australia to go do single seater racing, or were you looking at maybe going down the Porsche like Super 2 supercars route, or was it always single seaters was what you wanted?
It's probably a little bit hard to go back and know exactly how I thought, if you know what I mean. But I was pretty, like I said, supercars was never really on my radar as a kid. It still isn't really something that I don't have a problem with it. Like I think it's really, the cars are cool and everything, but it's never something that was really what I was interested in. So until I started doing stuff in Formula Ford, it wasn't something that I looked at a huge amount. And I think the move to Europe was because through meeting who ran me originally, Brett in Perth, and then I met Mark Goddard, who runs Eurasian Motorsport in the UK, and I did a test day with him, which kind of led to the Formula Masters thing, because I was doing some testing there. And then we were asking for some driver coaching, and so he put us in touch with Rob Wilson, who's a pretty renowned driver coach, and still I met him a few weeks ago again, a pretty good friend to this day. And he was the one that I met and kind of convinced me that if you want to take this seriously, the best thing for your career is to go to the UK, which is true. And I think also maybe I went to Fortec or one of the single seater teams through another connection and just saw what it was about. I think that opened my eyes to it at least became an option. You knew what it looked like then. So it was just weighing that up versus maybe staying in Australia. You're right.
I need to change my internet server. Honestly, sorry, folks. That's twice. Terrible. Apologies, but
no, it's all good.
Yeah, see, everything in the UK is great, isn't it? Even the internet. But obviously, I mean, at quite a young age. And now I do know that you have some Irish heritage as well. There's some European heritage to your family, but it was a big move. I mean, moving from Australia to Europe for anyone is or back the other way if that's what comes up. It's a big thing for anyone, but for a young guy, obviously it's your dream to go racing. But it was a big move. I mean, you must have been a bit nervy because I guess you were kind of all in, weren't you, on this? This is it.
Yeah,
this is it.
Yeah, I think again, it's hard to know exactly how I felt at the time. But I knew it was something I wanted to do. I think there was a lot of me that was obviously I think people are always afraid of failing, right? Obviously, but whatever that looks like. But for me, I felt like I had the ability to do it. We did a few test days in the UK kind of before I moved in the F4 car to see what it was like and so on, and see some of the teams and it wasn't something that came out of the blue. It was 2 years of, is this going to be something we do? So and then when I made that decision with my family, then I think it was more me worried about them, because they did come over to the UK with me. I was, I think, 17 at the time, and so it was more about am I prepared to do this? I wouldn't say to them, but with them, with that extra bit as well, because it's not just me whose life's changing, and there was circumstances that made it possible. Like my parents didn't have to. It wasn't just time wise, it worked with a few different things, so it wasn't taking huge commitments out of them in some circumstances where it would be impossible maybe a few years earlier or later. So that's kind of where I guess the difficulty lay for me, and in terms of if I could make this possible. But I think at the time I was very I channeled that into I've got to do a really, really good job here. I really, really, not that I want to do a bad job, but you know what I mean? In terms of, I've really got to focus. I'm really going to make this work. I'm going to commit. And I think in some ways, maybe we'll get into that bit. Maybe that backfired at points. But that was certainly, what, as a 17-year-old kid, I pushed into. And, but yeah, I still remember the week when I was telling my friends that I was leaving. I did it kind of carefully, right? Because I didn't want to I'm not the kind of person to make a big deal out of it. And so being quite, because I was leaving before my last year of school as well, who I'd kind of done school all the way up with a lot of these people. And so I didn't want to feel like a betrayal almost, or, something like that. But I've always been so lucky with the friends, and the school were so supportive of me all the way through my racing. Like when I was racing in Australia, it was tough because, you'd get back at silly o'clock at night and leave. I'd miss a lot of Fridays and Thursdays and things like this. And they were very accommodating with that kind of thing, with missing exams and all that. So I was given every opportunity by everyone around me. And so I think that's also a big part of what made it possible as well, as I was given that support from people around me to try and do something ambitious. And I think also I was afraid of the regret of not doing it a lot as well. What would that look like? So with that there, and the alternative being, if I want to pursue a career as a driver, I'm probably going to have to move to Melbourne or somewhere on the other side of Australia anyway.
Sure.
Like I said, the 4 hour, I think we learned in that year of racing in Australia, the 3 to 4 hour flight thing, you lose a lot of opportunities. If someone's like, can you drive a car in a few days or do this coaching or whatever, or you can't just quickly do that. So I think that was also a big part to play as well. I'm going to have to move anyway. Might as well be to the best place.
Sure. And where things are a bit closer together, I guess, as well. That kind of
exactly. That was attractive.
Even though the initial journey is a heck of a long one, once you're there, there's a lot more on your doorstep, isn't there? I guess.
For sure.
So that's how you can balance it, I suppose. Still a big thing though, for 17 and family.
No, it is.
But and you, excuse me, F4 British Championship. This was with Arden, wasn't it? Arden Motorsport, obviously, who you may know was set up by Christian Horner and all that. So it's a big name. They know what they're doing. It's a very settled team, very professional team. Pretty good place to start in like formula racing.
Yeah, no, I agree. It was a very established team. I think, unfortunately, maybe it was one of those teams where, I think maybe their peak was a few years before, let's say. And then since then, they haven't been as much involved in racing, and so maybe it wasn't the best time to go there. Maybe it was kind of a little bit looking at what they've done in the past. Also, the year I went there was a big shuffle in staff and things like this. So there were a few options, and maybe looking back, you go, oh, maybe I should have done it with this team or with, I think the main thing as well was maybe if I could have done it with a teammate who was a bit more experienced or something like that. Because I ended up kind of being, for a chunk of the year, let's say the lead driver, which, I mean, okay, you kind of like that in a way, but when it's your first time on these tracks, you want to be learning as well, don't you?
Yeah, sure.
So I think looking back, there's a few things like that where as a driver coach, if I was coaching or managing myself, I'd be like, no, why did you do this? But it was still a very good place in terms of, I did a huge amount of, that's where I started really using the simulator as a tool to train. And getting involved with the team a lot more and the engineering side in terms of working one-on-one with an engineer, and yeah, all that kind of thing. And like you say, a team with really, really strong motorsport history.
Yeah, really. And you mentioned about being the lead driver. You were alongside Tommy Foster, wasn't it? And he's always still coming in. I think he was coming in green as well. But yeah, I mean, like a more than decent place to start and everything. Again, sim and everything else. What did you think of the car the first time you got in it and gave it the big right foot?
Very grippy. It's weird going from the Formula Ford I drove to the F4, which was the Megala F4 at the time, which is a lot slower than the current F4 car.
The M14.
I mean, I think that car had a lot of engine issues as well, because if you ever looked at that car with the engine cover off, it's like someone literally stole an engine from a road car and just put it in, and so the cables, the packaging was not good, and hence reliability issues were quite common. And also the power output was similar, maybe a bit less than it was about the same as what I had in the Formula Ford, but you had a car that weighed 100 and something kilos more and was draggier. So in a straight line, it was about 15 k's slower than a Formula Ford, maybe 20 k's. So it actually just felt over gripped, to be honest, because you had a lot more grip in the low speed corners and things like that. And the brake was a lot harder. That's what I probably had to get used to the most, was the braking. But I know it sounds like I'm really slating the car here, but honestly, it was it still is a very, very good learning car, because it's very forgiving handling wise, and you can be quite aggressive with it over curbs. And I think it's a lot more, what's the word, pliable kind of to the driver than some of the newer single seaters are today. So I actually think it's it actually raced quite well as well. So I think it did a lot of things right. I think maybe the engine was maybe a little bit of an issue, but apart from that, I think it was good.
Yeah, that's good stuff. Good stuff. And you kind of mentioned you wanted to be learning learning as you go and learning all the tracks, especially because you've obviously not been over here. The ones I guess you've heard of and things like that, and I guess done some sim work on. But first round was at Brands Hatch. Now I love Brands Hatch. Anyone who knows me or has watched these, I love Brands Hatch. It was the first one I ever went to many, many years ago. It's not a million miles down the road. Yep. I think your first round was on the Indy circuit. I think. What were your first impressions? Firstly, of Paddle Bend, because that's something else.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy corner. I was thinking about paddock a lot recently. Well, I was coaching someone on the sim today and talking to someone else about it. So it looks a lot steeper when you walk it or see it as a spectator than actually if you drive it. Like, okay, if it's still steep, but it's not, when you see a spectator, it's like, that's not really a corner, right? They're not actually going to drive around that. It's a bit insane. But it's an amazing corner. I think unfortunately after that, the Indy track gets a little bit cute in a way, you know what I mean? It's almost Mickey Mouse. It's not terrible, but it's but the paddock hill is really the star of the show there.
It's all
exactly,
about
and the paddock hill bend is like the one true GP type corner. Let's say you get there, and it's such a hard corner to get right, and it's so on the edge and risky. And in modern motorsport, that's so rare. So I think it's quite a special corner for that reason.
Yeah, for sure. And that's the thing. I've been around it. I was taken in a passenger ride in a like Hyundai Coupe car.
Okay.
And I went down it, and obviously it kind of bottoms out, and then you go again. But it didn't feel as steep as I thought it would. But it was when you got to the bottom that was the issue, because I just had lunch as well. But it's fantastic corner. And everyone seems to love it, and the results there were pretty good. I mean, got here you qualified pretty well, 5th in your first race. Sadly retired race 2, 6th in the second race, but you're up at the top end straight away, which I guess is a confidence booster just to start with.
Yeah, I think I know this well because I was reminiscing about it recently with, I think, a driver I was coaching, trying to actually giving a don't do this example of, I think I qualified 7th. If I had to guess off the top of my head, it's 7th without looking at the timing, but it was something ridiculous. Like I was 1.5 tenths off pole. So which is what you expect when it's like 45-second lap, right? But I remember being fairly disappointed with that, because I think I was first or quite high up in one of the tests at the Brands Indy circuit.
Okay.
So I know, yeah, you should be looking back now. If I had a driver and they got P5 in their first race, and I think it was a wet race as well, P5 in their first race in F4, I would be like, mate, that's mega. Like, well done, really good start the season. Let's build from here. But me at the time was so like, I have to win, I have to win, I have to win.
Sure.
Like, this is just not good enough. I think that's one of those things. I just don't think I took it very well, actually. And the next day, I remember thinking I had front row start for a reverse grid race. And I was so intensely focused on that. I have to win. Like, I have to win this race at all costs, to the point where I don't think I got any sleep the night before because I was so like desperate almost. Yeah, I wouldn't even say buzzy. I was just unhealthy, like obsessed almost with like, I have to do this, and thinking that by channeling my energy into it, somehow that would make it happen. And sure enough, I think I got a good start. I led on it was wet or a drying track or something. But I ended up making a mistake, dropping to second. Was still pretty good. But then I was driving so desperately and so like raggedly. I think I just ended up, dipping a wheel there, dropping another place, dipping another wheel. And then when someone else went past, I tried to hang it around the outside of somebody and spun myself out, something silly like that, So it was, in hindsight, honestly, it could have easily been like a 5th, 2nd, and a 7th, and a very good race weekend. But I think it's just one of those things. I didn't have the maturity at the time, and I was probably like just trying way too hard, or it's like a chip on my shoulder to say like, like even though I'm from Australia and I didn't do like professional karting like you guys, like trying to show that you can beat these guys, and maybe trying to make up for that a little bit too much, if that makes sense.
Yeah, sure. Trying
to
almost like maybe force a point subconsciously or something, or doing but
almost prove that you deserve to belong here. Maybe it's a bit of like a bit of insecurity or something like that.
Yeah, I mean, and it's fully understandable that would be the case. Second race starting on pole, things like that. But
yeah.
But obviously, looking back, like a solid start nonetheless. And I saw like round 2 at Donington. What was it? I think you qualified well, and maybe with memories of brands and stuff in it. Were you kind of confident going there, thinking, we can get some good results here?
I think I was okay at Donington. The test, it was on the national track. The second round was on the national track, and I think I'd done okay in testing. I did put it in the barrier. I mean, I put in the barrier plenty of times in testing, to be honest. So I think I wasn't. It wasn't like amazing or terrible. I don't think it was a track I had particularly strong feelings about. Okay. And the practice went terribly, like really bad. I don't think I got above 8th place in any of the sessions in the testing or the practice on the week. So I qualified pretty bad as well, like maybe P10. P11 in the wet, and so I was not. Yeah, the expectation level was low, which I think is actually why maybe it turned around a bit. But it was, it was actually a really bad run into the weekend. I had to have a bit of that's what I mean. I think it was a bit of a follow-on from that race to Brands decline, let's say, almost getting really wound up, and I not. Allowing myself, as I would say now, probably to just drive a bit more intuitively and go about things in the right way, and focus on what's important, and really getting a bit too emotional about it, a bit too obsessed about certain things, and
Sure. I mean, and that kind of makes what happened in the race even more impressive, because given that you said it wasn't the best, it wasn't the best run into it. Excuse me. But it was the first race of the weekend. Obviously, you hadn't qualified brilliantly, and perhaps not as good as you wanted. But you put it on the podium in your 4th ever race. That must be one of those races that you look back on and think, that was good.
No, it was like a bit of a turning point at the time. It was a big release valve, and you got to remember, in Australia or in my car racing career at this point, I'd only had like one weekend with a podium, so. Right. It was still very new, and to do it in a championship like that, and where, let's say, my expectations into the first round, I think, were really high because of some of the testing I'd done quite well, and because of just my attitude, I think, probably as well. And so it was a real bummer, especially, like I said, with the practice. I think the qualifying and then leading into the race was really strong. Shame it wasn't televised, because I think it was one of those races where it went a bit crazy. And things opened up so you could make those kind of moves. But yeah, it was definitely a big moment for me at the time.
Yeah, and I was just to get that first podium in, first overseas podium, first in the series, first that kind of thing. Nice feeling to get up on the podium and do your thing up there, which is a great thing to do. And I've actually got on my notes here. Surely it couldn't get any better. However,
yeah.
Race 2, even better. I mean, pretty good. I'm going to let you take this. I'm not going to say the result, but I'm going to let you go with this one because, I mean, you'd had that turning point, the confidence boost in like many ways. Race 2, how did it all happen and how did it feel at the end? Silly.
Yeah. From memory, it was slicks, but maybe it was normal at this time of year. Like maybe there was a bit of water around. It was coolish. It was in April, I think. So I think it helped getting that podium the day before, especially after what I'd kind of gone through, because it was a bit of a soft reset. But I think even in that first race, I was a little bit like I was a lot more relaxed, but I probably wasn't pushing absolutely to the limit of where I could be or to the pace that I wanted it to be. And then I think I started because this is when they used to do half reverse or something like this. So I started like fifth or somewhere near the front, but not right at the front.
Sure.
I got quite a good start, which I think Formula Ford helped with a lot, was getting good starts when some of the other kids were still working out how to control their clutch, But got a good start, maybe gained a few places into the first corner, gained another one down the hill. So I think I found myself in third onto the back straight, maybe had a small incident with another driver. Thankfully didn't get anything for it and passed for P2. And then let me think now. I cannot remember if we have a red flag before I take the lead or after, to be honest with you. But I believe I do. I pass. That's it. I do. I think I take the lead of the race, and then I make a mistake. I can't remember where. Maybe the last corner. I like go onto the grass a little bit, and then I think it was Carter Williams passes me, gets me back, and then I get him into McLean's with a switchback move, which was one that was pretty nice that I still remember quite well. But I think after this is a safety car. Joe Turney, who was racing for Carlin, was behind me, put some pressure on me, and I managed to bring it home in P1, which was, I remember the last few laps not super well, but I remember the feeling of like, okay, like you've really got to lock in here. And actually it was very windy that weekend. There was a tornado or something nearby. And so what would happen is every time you're on the main straight, it was sometimes fifth, sometimes sixth, depending on the gust of wind. Like it was a very big difference in those cars. Wow. And it made it, that's why the racing was so good that weekend, was because the slipstream was so strong because of the wind effect. So that meant passing was a lot more doable, but also meant if you're in front, obviously it's not as safe either. So it was a pretty, I think it was mainly because, like I said, I had such a downer on the previous week that it made a really big difference to come up like this in race 2.
Yeah, absolutely. And then to get that first, to get the first win and the way you did it and everything, nice. Not that there would have been a monkey on your back so early, but it's just nice to get it kind of ticked off and get it, and maybe just get yourself settled a bit as well.
No, absolutely. I think it's just, I needed that a little bit. Like I said, I hadn't won a race at any real, like in cars. So for me, it was huge. And to that, as I said, your 5th race in F4 at the time, again, I don't think I appreciated how big a deal that was. So it was an important race.
Yeah, for sure. That was great. Yeah, great stuff. So talk about another couple of the other kind of the like following rounds. Excuse me. Tongues all up. Went to Thruxton, 4th and 3rd there. I love Thruxton. Proper fast, grippy as hell. Thoughts on Thruxton? Proper old airfield circuit.
Yeah, I could say nice things about it, which are all basically what you said, and I can say some pretty derogatory things about it as well. It's refined taste. Yeah, it is. I was driving a prototype road car there in the wet recently, and I thought this is a bit dangerous. But when you're in the right conditions in the right car, it's good. But it's very old school is the best way I can put it. So I do appreciate that. And there's a lot of work going to it at the moment with the new owner. So
Yeah,
I think there's going to be a lot more big events there, and they're really going to look after the track, which is really cool because I think it's in a great place and it's a great like heritage kind of home in motorsport. And the racing was mega in F4. It was pretty much you brake twice, and then you're flat out around the back. So the slipstream effect's quite strong. I say quite strong; it's very strong. So I think again, I think maybe I qualified 7th or 8th, and you kind of end up in a big battle pack, and you're allowed to drag yourself through the field. Other reason I might not be so positive about Thruxton, I remember now, is that it was my worst track in F4, 100%. It was my slowest track.
Okay.
Yeah, I remember it was my one. It was like my bogey track. Like all the ones we did, it was the one where I just couldn't hack it versus my teammates until the end of the year. So yeah.
Yeah, I mean, just on the input and the development that's going on, they've just done all that banking up on the left as you go up to the chicane there, which is maybe good for spectators and stuff. And as you say, there's plenty more to come. And I think you're right.
Yeah.
I mean, in a single seater car, I've only done the little like track day and the little orange single seaters, and they're great. But I got taken around in the high speed Ford Focus for a couple of laps, and then in a touring car or similar, or a GT, it is pretty terrifying. But when you're in a single seater, it kind of feels right in a single seater. But yeah, terrifying stuff in anything else. In a good way.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, no, I know what you mean. Yeah.
But yeah. And what we talk about is Croft, proper underrated circuit. I mean, you actually went 2nd, 3rd, and 3rd up at Croft. I've never been because it's a long way from here.
Oh, it is a long way.
But yeah, it looks like a deceptively fast one, especially around the back there, through the left, right, and into sunny in, sunny out. And yeah, it looks like a fun track to drive.
Yeah, it's fun, really challenging. I was there a few weeks ago coaching some drivers, and it's still actually the current service is really good. Like provides really good grip. It's bloody bumpy though. It's like it is very bumpy. So in the F4 car, they look a bit silly sometimes, but it's as like a driver testing track for developing skill. I think it's actually really, really good. Racing, it's tough because it's a bit too tight. I'd say it's very. There's not many passing opportunities. It's quite narrow. I think touring cars can work quite well if you can door somebody. You know, like it's all right. In singles, it's true. It's true. Like if you can make that kind of move, I think it actually provides good side by side action. But yeah, it's definitely not. There's a reason why it's kind of like not one of the major circuits. But I do enjoy driving it. It is a bit out of the way though.
Yeah, that's the thing. I mean, there's a couple of people who follow the page here, and it's their local, and they keep saying, "No, it's not that far out the way." I went, "No, yeah, that's because you live out the way as well."
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
But yeah, I do like that term, just dooring someone. Yeah, good shout. Yeah. Just need to get rid of that daft tire stack that they stick on the outside of that first little.
Yeah, I hit one of those. They moved them a bit, but I remember I hit because they moved them in different sessions, and so there's always if you're there at the race events, you see there's a tractor that comes out and will pick up the tire stacks and move them. And thankfully, these days there has been, let's say, a development in motorsport knowledge that if you have single seaters on track, you actually don't want tire stacks like on the track. So they do get moved quite often at Donington or wherever. I mean, if you look at Knockhill in about 2015, they put tire stacks on all the apexes of the chicanes, and it looks pretty dodgy. Like it's pretty dodgy. Whereas
the uphill chicane with the tire stack and a single seat,
now it would never happen. Now it would never happen. Like even Donington doesn't do it anymore. All the test days used to have it at Donington. So, at Croft, I think it was the 3rd last corner, start of the last sector. I turned in a little early. I hit the tire stack kind of clean with my left front, but it threw the wheel out of my hands. I went straight off. I think I lost a place or something, managed to get it back. And my steering was slightly bent, but I finished the race in 5th, but I gave myself the fright of my life. Or maybe it must have been 3rd. It must have been 3rd because, So,
it was the left before you go into the left before the right and then the hairpin left. Yeah. Jeez. Yeah. We don't need tire stacks. Not necessary.
Yeah.
You mentioned Knockhill. I've got to talk about Knockhill. You mentioned it earlier. What a brilliant place. It comes in for a lot of flack because it rains a lot, but it was really hot in the last couple of years. But what a brilliant circuit, and just some really good people up there as well. It was really, really cool place, isn't it?
I'm Knockhill biased. I love it. The first time I drove the track, I said this is the best. It's like a roller coaster. The surface is really grippy. It provides good grip in the wet. The only thing, if it was longer, it would be better. Do you know what I mean? That's the only the pits as well.
They could extend it somewhere.
I don't know if you've been there, if you've seen the pits, but there's about 5 garages, and it's a bit, the single seater's bottom getting to the assembly area and stuff. So there's a bit of that going on, like proper club spec. But to drive the actual circuit, I'm such a big fan. Every corner is an event. The first sector, it was my best track as well. Like from the day dot I tested there, speed was awesome. So for me, it was, I love Knockhill.
Yeah, that is great. And I mean, the pits, there's a few garages and then there's a big sort of shed, basically, which is brilliant. But what fantastic circuit. And you had some decent results there. I mean, we got 6th, 9th, and 10th that first year.
Yeah, it was so for reference, because it won't be in the, I remember Thursday test, I think topped every session or maybe second in one of them. Friday, top 3 in every session, and then qualifying pole position. But we got disqualified for touching the cars under a red flag, which was I think putting cars on jacks under red flag or something was not illegal. Was not legal under motorsport UK regs at the time. I can't remember. But it was one of those ones that where the other teams knew the loophole. Let's say the rule that was a contravention in motorsport UK rules, but not FIA. They caught us and a few other people out. And unfortunately, it happened to land on the track where I was probably at my strongest. So that kind of sucked a bit. But starting from the back at Knockhill was hard because you couldn't really, I just passed some cars, but it's tricky.
Tricky one. I mean, obviously, shame it to happen, but good to have the pace there, of course. And the final round, you went 5th at Brands GP, strong end to the season. The proper Brands layout, the bit out the back, it's fantastic. And you finished 5th overall. So, I mean, pretty good, pretty good first year in F4.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think looking back, it was a good season. Lots of things you could have done better, like a few retirements and all sorts of the normal stuff, and crazy mistakes you make as a kid. But honestly, like looking back, I think I did, a good job, and I wish I could have taken more pride in it, if you know what I mean, at the time, rather than being probably very negative about it. But I think that's maybe just how racing drivers are, But yeah.
Always wanting a bit more. Yeah, obviously hindsight, a very, very good first season. 2020 was very moved over to F3. Obviously, like another step up. Lannan Racing, wasn't it? Obviously, like the natural progression, I guess. What did you think of, again, like the change in car and the step up and any little differences that there were?
Yeah, it was the BRDC F3 car at the time was kind of like an F4 car on steroids. It was because it wasn't really the full Dallara F3 shebang that you still kind of had going on at that era, just kind of tailing off. I mean, obviously it's still around now, but in its previous guise, let's say. And so, but when I say an F4 car on steroids, like it's a lot faster than an F4 car. It's at Brands.
I'm going to start throwing things. I'm going to start throwing stuff in a minute. We're back. Sorry.
No, that's all right. All good. No, but the F3 car was a lot quicker than especially the Miguel F4 was a bit off the current F4s, because I think at Silverstone you're about 13 seconds faster in a BRDC F3 than F4. So it's a lot quicker. Yeah, it's not far. It's got quicker these days as well. But it was an F4 tub, but it had different wings, different floor, natural aspirated engine, 240 horsepower. So it was a really fun car to drive and a lot more of a true race car than the F3 or than the F4. Sorry, I should say. And you speak to anybody who drove that era, and they still think, "Wow, that's it was a very light car as well, lighter than the F4 car." So a lot of fun to drive.
Yeah, which is Yeah, it's always nice to have that bit of extra power in it. Excuse me. And obviously, it was a difficult year with COVID and everything, but I guess everything was all
Mm,
sorted before that all hit, and it was just a case
yes.
of just like waiting to go racing, essentially, um, assuming
Well,
we got
that's a
through it.
simple way of putting it, I suppose. Yeah, yeah. I think that was actually part of the worry at the time was everyone was worried. No one knew obviously what was going to happen.
Yeah,
But a lot of people worried, well, we're just going to lose all our money here because they don't have to go racing. But in the end, it was an abbreviated season. I think started in August,
yeah,
something like that. It was some crazy crammed schedule,
yeah, which
but
must have
we
been
did.
tricky itself.
Yeah, I think we finished almost all our preseason before COVID, or most of it, and then it was it was like 2 weeks before our season was due to start, or 2 or 3 weeks before, where everything went to lockdown and got cancelled. So yeah, that was a bit strange because I think I ended up doing a lot of sim racing, and that's where I got into it probably even more so. It's on my own sim um, at that time, and then yeah, going back in the car later in the year, and yeah, it was it definitely made things difficult in hindsight. I think, especially as a rookie, it's tough because your learning is crammed and you can't really prep for races properly because
Yeah,
it's like 8 races in 3 months. So it's yeah, it's a bit tricky.
yeah, yeah, for sure. And I've always said that 2020, obviously, no disrespect to anyone who won championships and did well that year. It's kind of an outlier because I see, especially with guys rookies in the lower or junior series, so many sort of rookies in there struggling, not knowing what. So I've always said funny the results don't tell any kind of part of the story really. But I mean, you had some strong results through the year anyway.
Yeah,
I've got what was it? You took was it third in just your second race, a podium in your second race at
yeah,
Alton Park. You know, that's a real shot in the arm. Especially after what had gone on and all the worries and the big
yeah.
gap between actually getting in the car and going racing. I mean, you must have been delighted with that.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I think for context, we still had a full reverse grid at this time, so it was a little bit, I mean, obviously, it's nice to get a podium, but it's also a little bit like, all right, I can't remember. I think I qualified okay, and then I had a problem on the formation lap of the first race, which put me at the back, and
Yeah,
then
yeah,
that gave me the good position for the reverse grid, and then it was Alton Park. So after lap one, it was like follow the leader, dirty airs, pretty insane, and then you just
yeah.
kind of just follow around trying to drive off the track, without having all the downforce on your car. So I think I don't think it felt like that at the time, but yeah, still good to get a podium. I think trophy is always nice. So
Yeah, yeah, for sure. And I mean, and again, I've just sort of just scanning across the results I've got
mm,
here. I mean, you were sort of third, seventh at Branch,
yeah,
fourth and seventh back at Donington. There's like sort of a couple around the fringes of the top 10. So I mean, it showed that whether it was like reverse grid or not, you were
yeah,
competitive and certainly in that lead pack or just on the edge of the lead pack, which must have been a pretty good place to be. Again, just in
no.
that first year in the series.
And I think again, it was a similar thing to F4, maybe even more extreme here, where like speed was really good, and um, the opportunity looked. Yeah, in my first race weekend, I had a chance to get a real, let's say, a real podium, like a full race feature race podium,
Yeah.
and I ended up putting it. I saw the video. I dropped it on the exit of Cascades, just dropped a wheel basically on the curb, where they've got a little bit more paving now, let's say. And it was all right. Like I kept going, but I managed to damage the suspension. So I turned in for Island and the car just went straight. Well,
Uh,
the left wheel went up instead of left. So
right.
that was kind of, I didn't know at the time that would be my only podium in like a main race for the season, which is kind of funny in hindsight. But I think again, that was kind of part of the problem was I was very on the edge. Again, maybe I have to prove that I have to no compromise. I've got to be so fast to the point where put a lot of stress on the car in a short season, and there wasn't really time to repair it. In the second race weekend at Donington, for example, I did we had a bad accident in testing, and did the tub on Thursday, and so their team did an unbelievable job. In less than 24 hours, I was back out in a different car.
Crikey.
It's unbelievable. And then we
Yeah.
got, I think, a P4 or P7. something like
Absolutely.
this. So it was, really, really impressive stuff. But yeah, that was kind of the story. And it was a lot of it was self-induced, if not all, like a lot of it was me getting into incidents that I didn't need to be in, or getting yellow flags and qualifying, and then, not lifting and then getting a penalty, and there's all that kind of stuff,
Yeah.
still very immature, very immature at 18 years old, I would say, in terms of just my racing experience, because I'm not doing much national level stuff and in a serious championship. And I think that kind of came home to roost in, in a year where I was quick, but just made a lot of very, very silly mistakes.
Yeah.
That's, at least that's how I remember that season.
Yeah.
And that's why it was so up and down.
Yeah, and also given what had gone on in the start of the year and all that kind
Mm.
of stuff was, I guess, a contributing factor to it. But I mean, again, as I said, it's like, strong, like a strong season. For everything all told, I think it was like you second. I don't know if that was a reverse grid. I'm not sure at Silverstone in the penultimate race or the.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah. It was a reverse, but it was a real, like, I think I started mid pack or something. So it was it's still a good race. Yeah.
I remember that when you coming through up to second behind Benjamin Pedersen, who obviously went off to the IndyCar, done that kind of thing. So I mean, he can drive a bit, and so you obviously got back up onto the tail of him. So nice way to end the season, I guess.
Yeah, no, it was good, and that kind of gave me a bit of like, what's the word? A bit of currency going into speaking to other teams. Let's say, getting a bit of currency, and a lot of people are like, damn, we know, you can do a good job, Bart. So they allowed me to test with quite a few teams for the next season and kind of see what was available, let's say. So I think that was the positive side of it. And by the end of the year, I think I'd got a bit more of my head around some of the struggles I was facing as well.
Yeah, sure. Just a bit of just a kind of a learning year all round. 2021, you went to GB3. Obviously, switched disciplines with high tech. Obviously, high tech. We all know high tech. They're very, very good outfit. Was it just after doing a bit of testing and stuff? Was it just the place you wanted to be, or was it what was possible at that time? Or
so I think it was still F3 when I signed when we started the season, but they changed the name to GB3 mid season. They didn't tell any of us. I think it was because the FIA threatened Palmer's, and that was when they were doing the big crackdown on nothing can be F3 apart from FIA F3.
Yes,
and that's why you get stuff like Frecker and CT Frock and whatever from Mech and
all these various abbreviations.
Yes. Formula Regional, which is definitely not an F3 car, type stuff. Anyway, this
is nowhere near an F3 car.
Exactly. Yeah. So it's all a little bit in Euroformula, and but I went to do it with. Very fortunate to have the opportunity to do it with a team like High Tech, who were new to the championship at the time. That they did their first year in the COVID year. And I was fortunate where I had Kush Miney, who drove for them the year before, was someone who I knew, and he put some nice words in for me. And there were some other people who knew Ollie and things like that, and it gave me the opportunity to do a test, and that went well, and things kind of went on from there. So I was really fortunate to get a fantastic opportunity with a team, let's say with the kind of resources and level that I probably hadn't been to previously, So for me, it was a big thing.
Yeah, definitely. And I mean, not one to skip over the season, but it felt like it was a very similar season to what you'd had the year before. There was when there was 3 rounds, you had 2 really positive results and then a retirement or something where someone had turned you around, or there was a disqualification, or there was something that just felt like it was so nearly a really, really good season.
And so, looking back at it, it's a pretty. I'll be lying if I said I never thought about. That's the year the most that probably bugs me. I mean, maybe because it was my last year in single seaters, so far. But
you like that?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. But maybe that's why. But I think also because I knew it was a good opportunity with a great team, and the car was definitely there. And we were always there all the time in free practice, even qualifying. I think for qualifying for the season, I had second best average qualifying position behind Zach Sullivan. So, it was that kind of. I did a lot right Previously, qualifying hadn't been a strength of mine. It was something I really, really worked on over the off season. So and since has been a lot better. So that was a big part of my career that kind of gets lost a bit for me in that. But I think again, the maturity part of okay, maybe some mental stuff I hadn't properly worked through, still that little bit of your chip on your shoulder, but I can, if it can isolate to one moment, there's I have the first race at Brands Hatch, and then the second one, I don't know if you've probably seen it. There's a pretty famous accident where Ayrton Simmons gets we make contact at Druids,
Yes.
fighting for the lead, and then he gets stuck on. I call this the crash that confirmed that there'll be a halo on the car for the next season.
Yeah,
because there's like a video of his floor was about that far from my helmet, so or maybe it didn't touch it because there was nothing on there, but yeah, it was because people were talking about at the time like, oh, we need a halo, and I was a bit like, oh, I don't really care, like motor racing is meant to be dangerous kind of thing, and like
Sure.
I mean, look, now I think I'm very impressed by what the halo's done and everything, but I'm probably a little bit more risky than some people in that area, or accept the risk, say when I go to the track. But I remember thinking that's just about sealed it. And that crash, funnily enough, meant that I think O'Sullivan went through to lead the race. He then won that race and then basically just went on untouched for the rest of the championship as well. I think Ollie Bierman might have been P2 in that race as well. So kind of funny in hindsight. What happened there. And then I had 3 DNFs in the first 9 races. And so, including, I say DNF, there was a DSQ at Donington.
Yes.
And that was me
race 2,
assisting my teammate into the barrier. So that kind of, I was very popular, as you can imagine, after that. So I think, honestly, in hindsight, I'm pretty confident that those 3 no points finishes the way the point system is in that championship is, as well as very finishing biased. It's like a 35-point system where you score points in 15th. You need to finish every race. Like the difference between a DNF and a bad result is massive. You much rather just finish in a bad position. So it's one of those things where I think I put myself on the back foot, and then you don't put yourself in a good position with the team either, who are looking to win a championship here, and you've basically already said you're not the guy. You've hit off your teammate, and you've had 3 non-finishes in 9 races after they probably thought before the season, he's got a shot here. So I think looking back, that's where I really did a lot of the damage at that point in time.
Yeah, just one of those things at the time, isn't it? And I forgot about that crash. It was just coming out. It was Druids and coming out of Druids, wasn't it? And then going off to the left.
Yeah.
Where it was. Yeah, that's it. Yeah, crikey. Wasn't Ayrton? Was he?
CDR.
He was at Chris Dittman, wasn't he? Chris Dittman racing.
He was with Chris.
Yeah, blimey. Yeah, I think I wrote an article on at the time of going, "What the hell? I didn't see that."
Yeah. No, you can find on YouTube if you search up like me or GB3. It's the first that comes up, I think. So, there you go.
I'm seriously getting annoyed now. I've never had 4 dropouts. I've never had it. I'm so sorry.
That's right.
Goodness me. Sorry, folks. And if anyone is listening to this on audio only, that is my internet dropping out. Sorry, folks. But yes, that was the season that was. But I do want to talk about the Spa round, because that did go rather well. What a place! I got to Spa first time this year for the World Enduro Championship. What a place. Had you been before, or was it your first time?
No, because of COVID, we were it's a tradition, as you probably know, in British F3 to go to Spa, right? And British GT do it. But yeah, the COVID year that got scrapped, and then because of COVID and restrictions being stricter outside the UK, there was no testing. So the first day I rocked up was the Friday, which was also when you do qualifying at Spa. So my first day was the day I qualified. So to qualify in the end on pole on your first day at the track was a pretty cool experience. But I literally had never been there before, so no. Wow. But it's an awesome track. I've always had like good memories there. Always had good experience when I've raced there.
Yeah. And I think you know what I'm going to ask. I ask it to everyone because
Yeah.
I've walked up Radion, and good God, it's the only. Basically, if you've got mobility issues, I guess, and you've got a mobility scooter, there is a part behind, just before the grandstand going up Eau Rouge Radion, where you have to and you have to. There's a little phone box, and you have to call someone to drive you up the next bit because it's so steep. Your mobility scooter won't go up there. Your car are killing on the way up and the way down. It's proper steep, but what a corner it must be to drive in anything.
Yeah.
Did you think the first time you went up it?
It's quite cool, but I know it's going to sound really bad, and you probably maybe you know what I'm going to say, but in the British F3 car, it's just not a corner. Like you can lose a little bit of time in how you scrub the steering. I remember I was kind of surprised you can lose like maybe 2/10 just in how you position and stuff. But in the dry, it's flat on cold tires. Like in the wet, it was borderline flat. It was tough, but it was like borderline flat in the wet. So because that car is just such little power and so much grip. But I remember when I raced there in the M2, it was a lot more of it. Then it was proper, you know, like I was moving around a lot more. Yeah. And when you walk it, it's pretty cool.
Yeah, I'll bet. And it's a fabulous place. But yeah, I said that you took your first pole positions there. Obviously, you end up 5th and 4th in the races. It would have been nice to get a win, but yeah, very, very, very cool to have been. Would that have been your first race in continental Europe as opposed to
Yeah, absolutely, yeah.
Oh, it's pretty good. Yeah,
Yeah, no.
poles and stuff at Spa. Yeah, love that. And it's kind of, we kind of touched on it. It was like another nearly season and things like that, and 6th overall, and it was what it was. Were you looking at staying in single seaters, or was it a case of was it because it starts getting very expensive, doesn't it? Once you get above.
Yeah.
That level.
I think, as you're well aware, FIF3 is even at the time, it was, you know, less than it was now, but it's still very expensive. And realistically, looking back, I'm not sure it was ever possible. I mean, we tried to make, it's one of the things, even if I won the championship, I do wonder, like, I would have got you get the test, I think, as a prize, but it would have been very tricky. And because I wouldn't have had the Autosport award or anything, which is kind of how some of the guys have done it previously. That's been a part of that.
I had Joseph Loke on here just.
Okay, you had Joe's.
Yeah, Joe's a good lad. I love him. He's great. He had just got the award, but he hadn't done the Aston Martin thing. He hadn't done the test. But yeah, I mean, he said, I think it had been confirmed he was going to F3, and he said, if we didn't have this, there's no way. Basically.
Absolutely, yeah. It was just I guess a not completely different topic, but it's a bit insane at the moment. But it was, you know, there was ideas of some things maybe with some companies supporting and what we could have done, but I think it was just a mix of you know, us personally not really being realistic for my family to finance that kind of level of motorsport or team and single series in general. Even though that was 100% the aim, I remember at the time we were trying to do what we can in the off season and everything to make FIF3 work. Also at the time, my family was going home slowly, trying to get back as Australia let them, which was very tricky because of all the border restrictions and stuff like that. So that combined with them kind of going back, some things we hoped sponsorship wise kind of not or kind of falling through a little bit, and maybe also COVID not super helpful either. I think kind of slowing the tracks of building the kind of relationships you'd need to go on in the next year. Still kind of feeling the effects of that, and a lot of small businesses not wanting to put the money in. So I think it was just a combination of a lot of factors, but it's also that kind of raising money has never really been like a super strong suit for me. And it's something, you know, I'm still trying to work on a lot as well, but it's probably not something that comes naturally. So it was going to be tricky to go to that kind of level, you know, that some kind of strange left field opportunity. And so I was kind of forced into even like late into in early 2022, I was still looking at trying to do some single seater stuff, maybe in Europe, in a lower level championship or something somewhere. But you know, it was heavily focused on that for the most part. But I do remember I started looking at Porsche Cup or LMP3 in October, maybe
Okay.
something like that. So I think do you know what I mean? I wanted to do single seaters, but I was starting to look at other stuff as well.
Yeah, sure. And just on F3, I mean, I know someone who is trying to get into F3 for next year, who's come from the UK series, and I'm not going to say the number they need to find, but it's ridiculous. I mean,
there's a lot of social media posts about it now. Anyway, you can go. It's easy. It's public knowledge. So yeah.
I mean, it's comfortably 7 figures. I mean, it's comfortably. People aren't going to be throwing that kind of money around willy-nilly, should we say. So yeah, very tricky. It's like very, very tricky to get into it without the correct backing. But I mean, you kind of used the phrase there was like a left field opportunity, and it came in the form of a certain German manufacturer who we all are very familiar with BMW in the M2 Cup. It was the DTM support, wasn't it?
Yes.
Obviously, you just wanted to go racing, I guess, and did whatever you could do. Sorry, that sounded really bad, didn't it? I didn't mean that, but it was a bad series. Yeah. It's not. It's a cracking series, and obviously
it was mega.
And
did feel like that.
It's a great place to be on, to be noticed by certain manufacturers and for other series, etc., etc. How did it all come about? Because kind of cool move.
Yeah, I mean, it's funny what you say though, because my brain was, the kind of ego part of you was definitely a bit more like that. It's like, are you going for like an F3 car I also got to test a Dallara F3 at the end of 2021. So which is the best thing I've ever driven by far, and everyone always agrees is like such an amazing car. But going to then drive basically a glorified road car, like that's being nice to it, the M2 CS, is not flattering, and the first time I drove it, I'm like, oh my God, what is this, and I had, context-wise, I did drive like a cup car and a GT4 and other things in this time that I hadn't driven, and other closed cars, which gave me a bit of context. And I was pushed into it through, again, like you get that one phone call from one person that you just kind of gets in touch with you, and you think, oh, maybe, and then you speak to this person who puts you in touch with somebody else, and you don't think it's really going to lead to anything, and sure enough, I ended up spending 2 years in the championship, and it was just one of those things. I got on a course somewhere I wasn't really, again, because I was so focused on single seaters, I never thought in this M2 thing, like, what is this, right? If I'm going to do GT, I want to do GT4 at least, or something, or Cup. But no, it is a awesome championship, and it was a one-team championship run by Project One, who unfortunately no longer exists, but they did such a good job with that championship. Unbelievable. In terms of, you got, as a driver, you had everything there in terms of hospitality, but you had support from like sports scientists and everything around warm-up, and engineers and driver coach and mechanics, and it was a lottery car system as well, so you swapped cars every weekend, because the biggest fear people have with a one-team championship is corruption, basically, that someone gets a good car and then they're favored and all that kind of thing. So by having it being a random pull every week, every driver has to drive a few different cars, so
that's great.
It ends up being pretty fair, and honestly, and being on the DTM package was the biggest crowds I'd ever raced in front of by far. I mean, so I'm sorry, touring cars, but it's just bigger. And it was the events were unreal. They were really, really good. The racing was really good, and it was through Project One, and then a few sponsors that I had in the UK that gave me the opportunity. That without that, I wouldn't have been able to step into GTs, and I wouldn't be able to do what I've been able to do now. So yeah,
that's fantastic. I will touch on a couple of circuits as well, because as I said earlier, I'm pretty big on Germany. But I'm glad you said that about about touring car fans, because people of a certain age, i.e. mine, will remember when the DTM was mega. I mean, like, it was it was incredible. And I've done a couple of posts on like DTM, because I've had Jack Aitken on here, and he's done a couple of seasons in the Ferrari with Emil Frey and people like that. And he's gone to Jota for next year, which is cool. But and I did a few posts on DTM, and people say, "Oh, I'm kind of glad that DTM's getting popular and getting big again." But I said, "Oh, but it's just become like another GT series," and I'm like, you say that like it's a bad thing. It's
It's
I mean,
I,
I'm like, it's
I
not what it was, but it's great.
yeah, I see.
It's so popular. I obviously see where they're coming from
Yeah,
because they're touring
the,
car
the
fan, but
the cars aren't what they were. Like if you they
no,
get you'll see some of the older cars of that era, let's say mid 2000s to late 2010s, they'll be at the track and you look at them and you go, this is like a spaceship. This is, and you speak to the guys who worked in that era, it is as
yeah,
close to F1 as you get without being an F1. They're LMP1 cars. They are LMP1 cars with like they have got like
with a shell.
a single seater cockpit basically. They are
Yeah,
crazy, crazy cars,
yeah.
and so
And
to drive on would be
I had Peter Dumbreck on here, and he raced in that era, and he said it was mega. He said it was
yeah.
absolutely awesome. It was a cool thing to
Yeah,
drive.
it's that there you just if you look at one, you go, this is not a touring. This is not even a GT car. It's
Yeah,
way quicker than a GT3. Like they're very cool cars. So I get that. There's
yeah,
also a reason why it's moved this way. We'll see what happens in the future. But what I will say that because I was similarly skeptical, but the racing in GT3 is I'm gonna say way better, but it's a lot more like touring cars but in faster cars than other G3 championships you're watching, and you're kind of like, okay, which class is this? Like Pro Am Silver, the fourth driver, which car am I trying to follow? Number this and which
it's
lap
hard
are
to
they?
believe.
It's all endurance stuff. No one does this sprint racing, and if you watch a DTM race, I'll just go to their Instagram or something and see the highlights from it. The racing is fantastic. Like it's
It's
really,
super.
really, really good racing.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah,
with okay, the cars are the same, but the racing is different, and it's sprint races, and it's a good format, and the fans are really into it, and they support the drivers, and
yeah.
so it's its own thing for sure. And I think they do a really good job. And when you're at the events, you love it because it's not F1, but in Europe, it's about as big as you can get behind that. And like Norris Ring, you get over 100,000 people at a street track, and it's with four corners. So
Yeah, yeah,
yeah, it's good stuff. It's underrated, 100%.
yeah, for
100%.
sure. And one of the favorite chats I had on here, I keep name dropping. I don't mean to, but I had Max Gertz came on here. And he's just a
Yep.
brilliant guy. He's a brilliant guy. And obviously he won it very controversially.
Yes. Yeah. Very.
Yeah,
Very.
and he said I would say that I don't care, but I do care because of the sport. But
Mm.
I won, so
Mm.
whatever. But
Yeah.
he said
It's
that
fair enough.
because he's done British GT last year, or the last couple of years, and he still says about like the DTM it's being absolutely fantastic. It's just
Yeah.
an absolutely brilliant, brilliant series. Could you touched on the Norris Ring? It's an interesting one. It's in Nuremberg. I want to touch on it. I
Yeah.
don't know if people know this. There's quite a dark history about the
Yeah.
location of the circuit because what is sometimes used as a grandstand. It's opposite the pits.
Yeah.
It was basically for Nazi rallies, wasn't it? And it was
Yeah.
where
Yeah.
Hitler did, and it was all that kind of stuff. And
Yeah.
it's near, and they've made a very small circuit. I was they could make a bigger circuit there, but does it feel a bit odd racing there because of? I mean,
Mm.
they're not hiding from the history that's there.
I know what you mean.
I've always thought it might be a bit odd racing there, or just a
I
bit
don't know. I
different.
don't. It sounds stupid, but as a racing drivers like what's the racing drivers like monkeys? You know, like they see a racetrack and they just want to drive around it.
Yeah,
Like it ain't that complicated. Like I don't think when they're racing I don't think when F1 drives racing in Sochi, they're worried about like what Russia was doing. You know,
no,
like
true,
they're there to
true,
do a job, and they just
true.
or Saudi Arabia or whatever they've been recently, right? So it's not.
Yeah,
So no is the answer. No, like not at all. But genuinely, as like a spectator and someone who's there, it doesn't. It's if anything, it's an interesting. I'm trying to be careful with the words I use, but it's just an interesting bit of extra something that adds this. Like if you walk, I've been up on that grandstand to watch races.
yeah.
Because it's not a grandstand. It's not built to be a grandstand. It's repurposed again, place for like Nazi rallies and stuff. And you see some remnants of people from the 1930s, and they're not there to celebrate that or anything at all.
No.
But it's interesting, and I think it's extremely. I think it's very cool and very German that they've repurposed something in this way to celebrate motorsport. You know, there's not many
Yes.
street races we have anymore. A lot of them get kicked out for noise and pollution, things like this. So I think
Which
we
is a
need to really
shame because
celebrate, like,
I love a street circuit.
yeah, and like the paddock, I think is where the airships landed.
Yes,
I think that's what they call it. Yeah,
like
yeah.
the runway or whatever it was with
Yes.
the towers and stuff, wasn't it? Yeah,
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
So
cars are good.
it's but the event is like a party. It's really, really cool. It's really fun. Yeah, no, I think it's, again, that's one of those events where I'm like, oh god, to people that you should go. Like, it's really good.
Yeah.
So yeah,
It's one.
it's strange, but it's in a good way.
Yeah, that's good. I mean, because I don't think for one moment anyone would be there celebrating or partying for the original reason.
No, no.
No way. But it's one of those I've always wanted to go to, and you've just sold it to me, so I'm going to go at some point. But yeah, that's cool. So yeah, Norris Ring, very very cool. But yeah, you had you had a good couple of seasons there. I think third in the second season and things like that. I mean,
Yeah.
I've got to ask the obvious question: were your eyes on DTM? I mean, I guess that would have been nice. But the
How to
BMW
say it?
team had four quite good drivers in at the time, didn't they? So
Yeah, I was, I guess it was more my eyes were moving towards. I was working out what I wanted to do with my career, maybe with my life a little bit as well. Still kind of
yeah,
am in a way, but it was working out where I wanted to aim myself. How am I going to aim myself? Because still part of you is like, God, can I get to F1 some which way, weird way, or some desperate? So maybe in 2022 that was a little bit strange. And I was just grateful to be racing. So there was a bit of that going on. But in 23, the second year, yeah, I think it kind of gave me a mindset of, no, if I want to be a really top GT driver, and you look at the guys who've gone on to do WEC and things like that, most of them go through either Super Cup or DTM. And so for me, it was, yeah, pointing more in that direction and looking at what the next steps would be, which would be a GT4 Germany or a GT Masters or something like that. So, and the second year was also good for me because it's probably the first time I've been in the championship fight. So it was really good for me in terms of able to, and it's, for me, it's still a season I'm proud of in terms of the best season I've probably put together. Where I don't think I had a race I finished below fourth, apart from the last race of the season I had to pass the car in front to keep P2 in the standings,
right.
and I went for a slightly ambitious move that gave me a penalty, let's say, which in the end wouldn't have mattered because the guy I was racing got a track limits penalty anyway, which was very nice to know afterwards. Thanks,
Yeah.
guys. But that, again, that's part of racing. But I was like, for me, I was leading the championship for a chunk of it. Race wins, podiums, really close championship fight between me and Leighton and Max. So it was a really cool season, and I still have a lot of friends from that championship because it was that one team environment. From other drivers I was with as well, and everything from that. It was a really, really amazing year.
I'd love to hear that, and it's always nice when people sort of keep, when they're referred to like their competitors as like friends as a result of it and making mates out of it, because that's another side to going racing.
Yeah.
Sounds like a cool series. I need to get myself back out of Germany. My goodness. But no, that's a very cool tip. Very cool to hear. Just in the a couple of bits that you told me this morning, actually, which I couldn't find on the internet. You said 2024 Super Sport Endurance Championship in the UK.
Yeah.
I totally forgot about that. I do apologise. That's another kind of cool series to race in as well, wasn't it?
Yeah, a bit different. I was contacted through kind of a friend, put on to help someone who wanted to just get better at driving, basically. So it was a kind of a coach opportunity. He said, "Oh, I'm kind of also like a teammate for these endurance races," and I was like, "Yeah, I'll put my hand up." And it was one series BMW, highly modified, has an M2 engine in it, bit of aero, good suspension. It's a quick car, and so we're racing in Super Sport Endurance, which is like an endurance multi-class championship against a lot of other improved production cars, and so we did that in 2023, won the championship in the top class last year in 2024. So it was nice to get back out on the UK tracks as well. And it was also very cool for me to work with somebody and see them develop a lot as well. Kia, who I was with in those 2 seasons, really put a lot of effort in, and he made huge improvements. He enjoys racing a lot more. And again, I became very close with the team that was running him. And so that actually led to me this year doing a random brick car and helping them shake down some new race cars that they made and a few other things like that. So it was one of those experiences that came along that's been really, really good for the rest of my career as well.
Yeah. No, good stuff. Great stuff. Just to come on to this year as well. So you did excuse me. I'm getting a cold. Excuse me. You did 3 rounds of the Nürburgring Langstrecken series, which I
Yep.
love. I love anything. People like, I love Germany. If you don't love the Nürburgring, there's something wrong with you. But it's just opinion. How obviously it came about through your previous racing in Germany, things like that. I think it's a series that needs a bit more. I don't know, needs a bit more kudos given to it outside of Germany. I spoke with Carrie Schreiner. She's done it,
Yep.
NLS, and her other partner, her partner Peter Terting, and a few other people, and they all love it. I sort of guess you enjoyed your 3 rounds as well.
Yeah. It's, how do I say? It's obviously a very challenging track. And when I rocked up to do the permit, it's the same day Max Verstappen actually did his permit as well. But it was a bit annoying. It's gonna sound bad, but they pushed it back when we were supposed to originally meet on Thursday night to Friday morning, and then later to Friday because I think they're waiting for Max, and they didn't even turn up. Or at least when he did, they had to do it all. He did his own private one, so no one we didn't even see him. So, but I think what's funny with that though is it's becoming a really big deal now, and I know next year they've got some new media deal or something as well. But the amount of drivers, international drivers who are doing it now, mainly to do the 24 hours. But
Yes.
there was a few Super Formula, Super GT drivers that were there doing it at the same time as me. A lot of guys who did like, McLaren Trophy or European GT stuff are doing it as well. Everybody's wanting to do it now. It's really important to get your Nordschleife permit and get a few races under your belt, because for those who don't know, you need to do a certain amount of laps, as Max did, in a low powered car before they let you drive it. Basically a GT4 up, so you can drive.
Right.
The quickest thing you can drive with the base permit, which requires an international license, and it requires you to do the permit test, which is like do the online course to learn all the Nordschleife specific rules, which is actually quite, I wouldn't say tough, but it's different because they are different rules to most tracks because you don't have safety cars, and it's a bit wild. Like you can drive past a truck at full speed or like an intervention car, and while you're still full racing speed, and it's a bit insane, but a bit different, very challenging. But you do that, and you do it's almost like doing another instructing session. You follow an instructor around on the track, and he sees that you can drive the track okay, and then you get your permit B. You do enough laps, you get your permit A, and then you can race GT3 or whatever. So that was same reason I did it, was to kind of look at doing more of that going forward, and see if there's certain coaching opportunities and things like that there as well.
Yeah. Okay. That's just mad. There's a whole different, it's got its own unique set of rules and stuff like that. But yeah, I mean, I've spoken to a lot of drivers who have raced it, and they just said it's a fantastic, it's an incredible experience to do it. I spoke to Tom Coronel. He said he was doing world touring cars, and then I said they only did 3 laps. And he said, the Nürburgring's a great circuit, but really,
yeah. I mean,
it's a bit of a daft one.
I mean, you don't do many laps for, at least for me, before I even race I think because I did the permit in a different car as well, because it had to be a low power car for the course. So I remember I got in the car for qualifying. I'd done 2 laps, and the quali was wet, and I did 1 quali lap in the wet, and then I was starting the race Saturday afternoon, which is a bit wild. So like the learning curve's quick, like on a track that long. I did a lot of sim prep, which made a huge difference. It allowed me at least to get like on the pace pretty quick. So in the first race I was a 10th off fastest lap in my class, and that's all down to sim prep and looking on board 100%. Like it's all, and a little bit. I also got to follow some guys who are quick, who are racing. Slipstream doesn't hurt either on like a track that's 15 or 24 Ks long, whatever it is, with those big straights. But it definitely, I was able to actually compete and fight at the front in the class and stuff. And it was mainly just down to good preparation. And for me, it was also, I wanted to test for myself, like all the things I've been coaching drivers the last few years about how to prepare. Let's test that through to the limit. Like, okay, how would I do it now that I know a lot more than I used to know? How would I go about it? And it certainly, paid dividends. We got, I think, a podium on the Sunday, in NLS 8. And when I went back there, it was a wet race in the 3:30, and again, speed was really good in my stint and stuff like that. And it's all just down to, like I said, really good preparation, and but also the learning curve there is unbelievable, because when it rains, like all the surface changes. Some bits have resurfaced recently, some are ancient.
Yeah.
So you can go through one corner completely sideways, no grip, and the next corner you can take a full dry line because it's like a new surface. So,
Yeah.
no, but it's completely unique.
Fantastic. I love that. And any story about the Nürburgring is always a good one, or any insight onto it is terrific. And you saying about like the about like preparation and things like that, and you've touched on like the sim side of things. There was a question earlier on about sim racing. Sorry, it's come so
that's right,
late, folks. But we'll answer it now. I mean, obviously, it's become a huge part. I mean, you touched on it with COVID and everything, and the e-racing that we all saw going on in COVID. But it's become a real prep tool, isn't it? And you've been doing a lot on the Aston Martin F1 simulator. I saw on your LinkedIn over 500 hours. That's 500 hours well spent. That must be a cool thing to do.
Yeah. Well, I should change it to over 500 hours spent in a cramped space in a dark room. That would probably be like the cynical way, which is what it. Sometimes it's an 8 hours, 7 hours of a day spent like this in the dark room. It's like, but no, it's out of all the small spaces to be, it's pretty cool to be in a like super close F1 replica on like one of the best simulators in the world now. Like I can say that hands down without giving away what all the stuff in it. But it's Aston Martin is I'm lucky to be part of that team, because it's hopefully we'll see what happens next year, but resources and the right people, and it's been a great place to be. And for me, as I've learned so much from it, and I wouldn't be able to do what I've done in coaching and test driving and even my racing. I've learned so much, because I get to be the dumbest person in the room there by far. So I always get to learn so much from the other engineers and stuff like that. So it's cool stuff. It's also not bad to have as your job. What do you do? Aston Martin F1 sim driver,
It's like, it'll do. It's better than my title. I mean, it's way better than
it depends how creative you are, maybe, but yeah.
I did no measuring up construction drawings and throwing money around. No, you can't be that so uncool. But the question was, though, it was from Keith Mail. Evening, Keith. He tunes in regularly. Good to have you on board. He says, on the F1 simulator work, have you ever been quicker than a race driver around the circuit? And how frustrating is it if you do a long session on the sim only to see a driver bin it in qualifying or early in a race?
Yeah, I thought that. Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, that's a good question. Because first one, have I ever been quicker? I know it sucks as an answer, but it's so often we change so much on the sim all the time. It's very rare to get a compare. I wish we did, because I would love to compare data with Drugovich is a sim driver, Crawford is a sim driver, Nick Yellerly, like some awesome drivers. And when I can, for me, it's such a big learning curve. Obviously, Lance or Fernando, although they're on it, probably a little bit less, because they're racing so much. But unfortunately, we change stuff so much. It's very hard to get a session where it's the same, because you're always comparing different things. I can tell you when I first went there, I got smacked like massively. I was like, okay, this is what F1's like. And the cars are quite tricky, especially the 22 car, which is when I first drove. It was quite tricky to drive. But there's definitely been sessions, let's say, like my lap time certainly is quicker than what's done as a reference, but you also don't know if my setup's been tuned a little bit more. And it's even things like part of my limitations as a sim driver is I'm supposed to get in and drive what's given to me as well. So these are the settings that so-and-so did on this lap. You've got this brake bias, Bart. Don't you dare change it, because we're trying, I don't know, let's say front wings, and we need to compare them evenly, so we can't have you fiddling with it. Whereas if a race driver, or even if a reserve driver gets in, they have a problem with the car. They just fiddle with all the buttons, like all the brake and the diff settings, and they're like, I can just rebalance it and make it feel great. And I'm just like, cool. I can't do any of that, because I'm just here to test stuff and just do the same lap time over and over, be a machine. So that can't, I'm sorry, it's not a good answer, but it's just cool. Not enough for me to say anything like that. But I'm happy to at least say I'm competent at the point where they keep using me, which is good. And The second one, yeah, I think it's as frustrating as, I mean, it's probably more frustrating being a driver coach and having a driver crash. It obviously depends. If you're on pole and then you crash, that's a lot worse. Same as for the engineers who work in the team, and they put in more hours than me. So, okay, it can be frustrating, especially if you do like Miami, which by the way is like a 7 p.m. start into like a 5 a.m. finish for me and all the people doing race support in F1, all of them. Or if it's like a 1 a.m., like Australia's like a 2 a.m. start or something, realistically, when you're getting up in the morning, 1 a.m. until, and this, I'm sitting in my sim driving or whatever. There's also so many engineers trawling through data and so many people on the team doing their jobs at this time. And people don't realize how like full on F1 is and the hours these guys put in behind the scenes in these companies. As you probably know, there's a lot of stuff. There's so many just humans just living their lives. So it's frustrating for a lot of people. So, but sometimes, yes, it can be,
you think,
annoying when, like say, I don't know, was it Lance last year in Interlagos is just like off on lap one or whatever? Or
it was towards the end of the first lap, wasn't it? I think
but I think like anything, it's more frustrating when the pace is good. If you're in a good position and then it falls away a bit. If you're not very good, you're not very good. So but it can be.
No, that's good. I like that. No, good answers. I like that. And just you mentioned about Nick Yellovy. What the loveliest man in the world. He's just the nicest guy, isn't he, Nick? Well, he is for me anyway. He came on here and I saw him at Silverstone and for the Elms, and just a really nice chap. Nick, he's a good guy. Got a lot of time for him. Okay, what have we got here? We've got some more questions here, which is probably. I just want to come to actually one thing, just with before we get into the questions, because the questions are generally the ones I like to ask at the end. But
of course,
and they've come in. So other people can have the credit for those. Nick Cars, very cool, very cool. Excuse me. Mr. Nichols, who people may not know, designed, was it the 1988 McLaren, the MP4?
The MP44, the most dominant F1 car of all time.
The almost all-conquering, apart from Monza, which let Ferrari have that one after Enzo died. How did it come about with Nichols? And have you spoken to him about the McLaren?
I've spoken to. We were in France 3 weeks ago for 3 days testing on this private, the same one where Chris Harris and Verstappen did their video in the Ford. We got that same track to do test driving and development in the Nichols, and so I've got to know Steve and the team really well, and he's amazing, like an absolute legend, obviously. But it came about through, funnily enough, through Peter Windsor, which was through Rob Wilson. Because he's got a connection there. Peter being an Aussie, we were in touch for a while. We haven't spoken, let's say, super recently. I still follow a lot of his stuff. I have a lot of respect for him as a journalist. And, he helped a little bit, some bits when I was in GB3. And, what? I think he might have been the person who put me in contact with the person who led me to end the M2 Cup as well. Now I think about it. This is the kind of thing that happens. You just forget. I think it was, a friend of his, funnily enough, that just started working for the M2 Cup. Peter's responsible because I did this little video. It was like in coordination with a watch sponsor I had when I was in GB3, and we did a little, what's a way we can do something that'll be cool for them, and Nichols wanted to do something media wise, and then the sponsor covered the cost of the filming, and then we did a little video that's still somewhere, maybe lost to my website or something like that. But a few years ago now, it's definitely on my social media. But and then kind of went quiet for a bit. We stayed in touch via phone calls, emails, whatever. The project has taken a long time for them to get from ground zero as well to like the point is now where the car's pretty much ready to go. But we touched base last year. I drove the car at Goodwood, the pre-production car. And the way I tell the story anyway is I drove the car. I got a call a few days before, like, can you turn up to Goodwood? And thankfully, I was free on Saturday. So I went, okay, I'll drive down. It's a bit of a drive to get down at 8 a.m. or whatever from mine. As you probably know, it's 2.5 hours-ish. So, okay, whatever. But drive a car at Goodwood. Awesome. I love Goodwood. Let's go. So went there, drove the car, scared myself because it's got, no ABS, no traction control, no power steering, no wings. At the time, 600 horsepower. Now it's over 700 horsepower, 7-liter V8, 900 kilograms, proper old school, like throwback to Can-Am car type stuff. It's serious bit of kit. manual H
and
pattern.
it
Yeah,
it looks awesome as well. It's cool.
it is. It's a really good looking car
It's a
if you're there in person. It stands out a lot and it gets a lot of attention from people, which is good as well.
yeah.
But I remember scaring myself, thinking, God, like it's one of those. It's not often you're in a car and you're like, to get to full throttle is a bit of a moment, and then okay, now I'm really pushing it. But how much do I want to push the braking zones, because you're going quite quick with no wing, and then downshifting and getting used to heel or toe again, and that. So you come in, you think, God, that was a bit scary. I was a bit, and then they went, oh, that was you going relatively quickly, but I think, and they kind of just decided I was the test driver while I was in the car, and I was like, okay, sure. And then, sure enough, then we've stayed in touch, and then recently. We've been busy doing some development at Thruxton again at Goodwood, and we're going to go back to Europe next year. And they're a great group of guys and girls there, and it's a really cool thing to be a part of. And like I said, the car itself, the M1A, is an awesome car, and I've had the luxury to take quite a few people around and scare them in it. So if you're ever at a track, Richard, you should come, and so I'll let you know. Yeah, have a go on it. Would be cool.
Sold.
But yeah, it's a good thing for the future. And yeah, Steve's a legend as well. Like stories about, because he's the one responsible for well, I say responsible. He put McLaren in touch with Hercules, the rocket company that
Yes.
made the first carbon monocoque. So he is a major role in F1 history in that, and the MP44.
83, 84.
Yeah, I think it's 80. It's either 82 or 83, something like that. Yeah, because he was an engineer with John Watson. Yeah,
that's it.
So and his background was in rockets and stuff, and so he put Ron Dennis in touch with them, and then sure enough, he was absolutely. It was his. It almost sounded to the extent it was. I wouldn't say it was his call, but without him, it wouldn't have happened. At least not in that way. So exactly, and that completely changed motorsport after that. So no, he's a legend.
Oh, now there's a cup of coffee I'd like to sit and have. Goodness me, that'd be very cool. But yeah, folks, if in case you didn't hear Bart there, it was this is like the Nichols N1A. Just give it a Google or check out the Nichols website or Bart's website. I mean, it's gorgeous. It's a fantastic bit of kit. Looking forward to seeing more. Maybe sit in it. You never know. That was on camera, so yeah.
yeah. You're safe now. Yeah.
Yeah, good stuff. Lock it in. No, nice one. No, that's great stuff. Just to wind down, because we've run way over 2 hours. My goodness. Fun questions. Always do some fun questions. Excuse me. What have we got here? I'm just going to scroll back through the countries. There's a load of you tuning in. What got you into motorsport? Dylan, we asked that one. Hope that was answered for you, Dylan. Thank you very much. Keith, we've done Keith's question. Let's go with Dylan Stratton again. Dylan, the road from me. I'm going to ask this one a bit out of order, but you can have the credit for it. Quite simply, what is your favourite car to drive and why?
I think the Dallara F3 that I've ever driven. Almost every driver you'll speak to will say that, because it's pure distilled racing. Like it's because it was the Dallara F3 from the 90s that's been developed for 20 years. It's even got stuff like it's still got a mechanical throttle cable for better feel, and the pedals have instant. There's no play in them. Everything's super taut. It weighs nothing. It's like 500 and something kilos still, even with a halo and dew in it. It's under 600 kilograms race weight. It's way over aeroed. It's more aero than an FIF3 car, but it's only got 240 horsepower, but instant torque because of those engines that were designed to just have a really wide torque band because they were maxed on the amount of power they were allowed to make. So everyone, it's that. I mean, the Nichols is a very cool experience, but absolutely like pushing a car to the edge. I'd say that car for sure. Maybe the Formula 4 Duratec is also really fun, but I have to admit my memory of that is really good as well for like a car that just moves around a lot.
Yeah, cool, good stuff. Good. That's answered that one. Another question from Dylan actually. What advice would you have given to your younger self? You kind of touched on this a little bit, but
I think I've said a lot of advice, too much.
Yeah.
Depends what point in time. I think in general it would have been try and be a bit more grateful, and probably try to be a bit more honest with yourself and honest with the people around you even. And rely on other people who you trust a bit more as well. So I think maybe I wasn't, tried to do a lot myself and tried to take it all on myself like I had to in a way. And maybe I think learning to, actually lean on the right people that you meet along the way in motorsport. They can be few and far between sometimes, it feels, but there's some really good people that I met, and hopefully that can lead to some cool things in the future. But I've been very fortunate, even at this point, for when you meet those people, you're like, oh, okay, no, you get it, and then it can make the sport. It makes you realize why you were here. It's the really good people who are also interested in what you can kind of give to them if you're also in the car driving well, or working together towards that goal, because it is a team sport, absolutely. And I think without that element, it loses a lot of interest for me. You are with the team, you are the one competitor if it's not shared car with teammates, but that experience of winning with your engineer, your mechanic, your whoever, like a lot of people lose sight of those key components. And for me, or your family, or your support group and your coaches, and because for them it's just as much of a win as it is for you. So being on that journey together is really cool, and I've been able to taste that from a lot of different angles. So yeah,
love that. Absolutely love that. You just mentioned on what it might lead to in the future. It takes me on to Lisa Reinhardt's question. YouTube. Hello, Lisa. It says simply about the future. It said, where would you like to be in 5 years' time? There's a question.
What would I like to be in 5 years' time? What am I now? 23. I'd like to be. Goals to be. I think for now is to be a bit vague. I want to drive. I want WEC, Le Mans, in 24-hour type stuff. As far as I can get up on that endurance racing ladder for sure. Yeah, I really am big on test driving though. Like I really. So if I could be, with the manufacturer developing a car and then racing it, I think that's like a Ken Mars type, like something like that. But it's that kind of that kind of thing is really appealing to me, and that process I enjoy a lot. I mean, I also do really enjoy my coaching now as well. And for me, it's also, I think I can be a much better coach if I get that experience at a high level as well, and that can kind of feedback down.
Yeah, that'd be cool. And I thought, and also where the World Endurance Championship is now in the and like the way it's run, and with all the new manufacturers coming in. I mean, it's a great direction to be heading in if you can get onto it. It's certainly booming, isn't it? Really growing. That's very cool. I think that's all those for those. Okay, right. I've got a couple here that I like to chuck in. Did you have a favourite driver when you were very young? And is there one that you particularly admire right now?
I think it was Alonso, because I think it was. I would have been like 3 or 4, so it would have like just.
Don't say that.
So it wasn't. Yeah, okay, but it wasn't like a reason. It is a bit weird though. He's in the team I work for now. I've only met him once, and only very briefly. So it wasn't that proper experience. But it. Yeah, so it was Alonso as a kid. I think Danny Rick for a long time, because he went to the same school, and so there's a little bit of that. So yeah, I guess the answer is Prost is probably the one. As I grew up, as I read more about motorsport, I became like this is the guy. To me, created the modern racing driver, I think, and is massively underrated. If you look at him and Senna's record, and speaking to like Steve, for example, they're not. It's not Senna's not like here and he's here. They. For me, they pushed each other and probably moved the sport on a bit. So I think the way he went about it was really, and his technique's a lot more like a modern racing driver. So I think that's probably Prost.
Yeah, it's kind of interesting. I mean, you said that you're age 23. I had Nigel Roebuck on there last week, who's age 79, and he said his guy was Prost. Of all the guys, he was way back with like Sever and all those guys, and Peterson.
Yeah.
But he said Prost was the guy, and he said the most underrated driver of the last goodness knows how many years is.
That's a good opinion. His opinion's better than mine. You should listen to that one.
So you've obviously got it, but he said Fernando Alonso doesn't get the credit that he deserves, because he said he should be a 5-6 time world champion if he was in. So there you go. See the people that know.
It's just lucky. That's all it is.
Yeah, they're cool. Okay, let's just do what have we got here? Favorite circuit to drive?
I think we said that. I think it's. Oh, I've driven the Nürburgring now, so I don't. I don't know. I'm not one of these big people. I just love a lot of them. Like Phillip Island, Nürburgring. Weirdly, I'm going to put Knockhill there. And Brands GP is like also extremely cool every time you get to drive it. So Nürburgring is the biggest challenge, though. It has the biggest what's the word, like mystique around it. Like I want to go back there because it's so tough. Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah,
that's cool. 4 great circuits there, and I'm glad Knockhill's in there. Absolutely, and it bloody deserves to be. It's a cracking little circuit. Absolutely right. Okay, we're going to do one more. Guess the last question. Oscar Piastri this year. Aussie going for the championship. Had a very unfortunate run recently. I'm not one of those Brits who must pick one over the other or anything like that. I think we said off camera, I always used to support the Brits and Ayrton and Prost when I was a kid. Last sort of 6 or 7 years, I just thought, well, whoever wins. I don't really mind. We could have touched on it off. It was, I think Oscar's got to get it. He's got to beat Lando this weekend. I think he's got to get ahead of him.
This weekend has to sort of
really keep it going.
It's just now or never. Depends a little bit on how good the McLaren is. But for it not to be the best car would be a massive shock. So it's Oscar now or never. So I'm surprised it's taken this long to sort it out if he ever does. So we will see. So I don't know. Lando's been really good the last 2 races. It's probably like if you're a betting man, you'd bet Lando. I would prefer Oscar because I think it'd be cool for Australia.
Of course.
I was biased, right? And I've been a little bit critical of Lando, probably. There were some people generally, but I think at the same time though, I'm not that he's not very capable. He is,
of course.
But I think, I know that he's also. Look, if he wins, he deserves it. It's one of those things that changes everything. If Lando wins the next 2 races, and then he's showing what he hasn't shown before to me, like a lot more grit. And but whoever wins is going to have to show is going to earn it. I feel like no matter what happens. So which is the important thing, I think. Even though I think I'd say Max this year has been unbelievable. But it's been good to watch like 3 guys at a very high level go about it like that. So. I just hope it's entertaining as well. It's like if Oscar made it a really like dull finish to the year because he was just kind of very lackluster. So
I mean, we just want it to be we want it to be close and exciting, don't we? And I hope Oscar can turn it around for the last couple of races and we can have a real battle and see who wins. But as I say, it'd be nice for Australia because it's only Alan Jones, wasn't it? In 80, was it 80? Alan Jones.
I mean, Brabham obviously won, but it's not since Alan Jones that an Australians won the championship, which people I think don't. Well, I just don't know, but they don't really put in their head like that's a long time.
It is. It's a long time.
And we've generally always had like good drivers, but not a champion in a long time. And in Australia, it's a big thing, as you can imagine, for a sporting country like that. So we'll see what happens. It would be really cool. But at the same, if it doesn't happen, then it's not meant to be, So.
Yeah, sure. And I'm just having a quick look on screen. It was 1980, so that's it would be 45 years. I mean, I thought it was 80 because it was PK in 81 was when I was born, and that was Brabham and all that kind of stuff. So we'll see. We'll see how we go. Just as long as it's clean and exciting, that's all we need. Right, okay. Last one, rotten question. I ask it one, don't know why, because there's no answer to it. You've shared the track with a lot of good drivers already, just for the names that we've mentioned some, guys like Leighton Fury and Max Rosen, Maxi Mosen, and people like Tom Levin, Sebastian Alvarez, Jordan Najeda, Zach Suter, Roman Belinsky, Kush Maney, Kian Jewis has gone on to do well in GT's British GT champion this year. Zach O'Sullivan, Luke Browning, Zane Maloney, Hunter McElroy, and Louis Foster, and Benjamin Pedersen, Ollie Behrman for a few races in GB3, etc., etc. Is there anyone when you've been out on track that obviously you're focusing on your thing, but is there anyone that you've sort of been around or raced against or with at a weekend that has kind of struck you as being particularly not better or anything like that, but just
that's a nice way of putting it. Jeez, protecting me there. That's nice of you. Of course you think drivers do better than you all the time. Every driver I try to tell this to the drivers I coach, like, you're not the only one who's like worried about being worse than the other. That's just how it is. But I'd say there's not many drivers who I thought and this is a bit of racing driver gene as well, but I think I'm also fortunate where I've been in a position where there's not many drivers I couldn't beat on my day either. So,
Yeah, for sure.
or when, things were going well. So there wasn't anyone I was like, oh, that's completely blown away. Zach O'Sullivan, the year I raced him, he had his championship was very good. Like the way he won that championship was very well driven. It wasn't by being miles faster than everybody, but he was consistent and made good decisions and things like that. Like things I didn't do, basically. Yeah. But so he was very impressive in that year. But the one who stands out, I mean, I remember Ollie weirdly wasn't like, I don't think he ever really was in his junior single seater career the whole time. It was never really like, oh my God, this guy's completely blowing everyone away. Yeah. Amazing. He's just very solid, very good. And I think that's kind of what he'll be. And he is, and he's doing a really good job. And that's what I mean. Yeah. He's doing a very good job. But I think the one I'd actually point to was probably, I mean, Hunter was very quick in Formula Ford, Hunter McElrea, like really fast with but very erratic. Right. I think he's done Indy Next and stuff now, and he's an IMSA. Yes. But Luke Browning is the one who I'd say I raced in F4, and he's the quickest person I've had in the same car as me. Right. I mean, Maxime and Leighton I had an M2 Cup was open data being one team championship, so I saw what they were doing. So is that as well. But Luke I shared a few test days with in British F3, GB3. Oh, there you go. That's right. So yeah, there's your answer. Luke was really impressive to me as a team. Like there's a few times you do a lap and then you look at your data, especially in the wet, he was mega. And I'd look and I'd go, like, it's not like he's 2/10 faster than me in this one corner I need to sort out. He's beat me by like 200s in 10 corners. That sucks, You're just there going like, what is he doing? What is he doing? Yeah. So he's an F2 at the moment. He recently did Williams test, didn't he? So yeah, he was, and he's obviously done really well in the racing and stuff like that. And we tapped wheels quite a few times in F4 and things like that. So no, he's good lad and good driver. Yeah,
that's cool. That's good stuff. And also, it was good to see him getting the having a quick, was it FP1? Was it in for Williams? For people who don't know, Williams are about 30 miles that way for me. They've always been my team, thanks to Noel Mansell. So it's good, and it is good to see Williams on the up. But yeah, no, good stuff. That's good stuff. And I think that's a good way to end. Someone who's on the up, just as you are, hopefully, and seeing things hopefully coming together for 2026 as well, which would be great.
No, thanks. Appreciate that.
Yeah, there we are. So we've got 2 hours. It's flown by. I always say an hour and a half. It's never an hour and a half. My apologies. Firstly, thanks very much to all of you who have tuned in. There's been plenty of you tuning in. Your comments and things. Flying backwards and forwards. Thank you very much. Back next week. We'll announce that tomorrow. Of course, the biggest thank you, Bart. Thank you very much for sparing more of your evening than you probably planned. But thanks very much for doing so. It's been brilliant hearing about your journey so far, and obviously we wish you all the best for everything that's to come.
That's my pleasure.
Great stuff. Right, guys. Thank you very much. Thank you for tuning in, and we will see you very, very soon. Cheers. Good night.